yesterday. I'm going to keep testing it today. Likewise, Open Mind, I still think Nissa is hot garbage. It's possible that Ether Gust is right if Sultai really comes to dominate the metagame, but we'll stick to this stuff for now. And sideboard-wise, it's been a long time since I used Return to Nature to kill an enchantment. I think I want to try what other people have been doing, which is Reckless Airstrike. That seems pretty reasonable. As far as the split on the rest of the stuff, I would love to get a Fabled Passage in here somewhere. Still don't know about having Graph Digger's Cage, whether that's important or not. Start here. Might also be able to go down a counterspell, might not need Disdainful Stroke. Could see Fabled Passage being better. Where is Garrick that has so many dinosaurs? I find this confusing. Okay, and we've got the classic, all of this is card draw hand. Notably, would not be better if this were an Ether Gust. That still would not be a keepable hand. This, well, I sure hope Brazen Borrower is good against our opponent's deck, whatever it is. Temple of Triumph, you say. Okay. Alright, what am I looking for most of all here? Innkeeper, Clover, not another forest. A red source would be fine, because that opens up a bunch of other draws. Okay, Beanstalk Giant's reasonable, so ideally here I'm going for the non-painful end because I feel like it's pretty likely my opponent will try casting a spell this turn. It is Marauding Raptor, but there's no other 2-drop to go with it, sure. Face No Monkey, well, for now, people seem to like it a lot when I do that, so we're doing some Clover. Yeah, this could be the red-white Capridor deck. I have not seen that one in action, but I've heard of people streaming with it and stuff. If it's a Capridor deck, I guess I like having a bunch of Brazen Borrowers. Hi, Frank. It looks like they're struggling a bit with their mana, so I can go Fae. I feel like killing this Marauding Raptor is probably going to be good. I could just cast Escape, but I think I'm more interested in going Fae, kill your Raptor this turn, just keeping them off board a little bit, slowing down their development if they are a Capridor deck, slowing down the Capridors, and then we can Escape next turn and still have a bounce up if we can hit 2 lands in the next 6 cards. There's the Capridor. Alright, so we're going to have to bounce that. We can't stomp it. We can't Reckless Airstrike it. Let's check what this does. Non-combat damage. Okay. We can still block it. So we'll just Escape, make this a development turn. Get in a pile of lands. That's great. I guess I wouldn't be surprised to see Deafening Clarion come out this turn and wipe out the Innkeeper and the token and put a bunch of counters in the Capridor, but that's okay. We got plenty of follow-up. Frank, I think Sultai is a tricky matchup. I think people often play against it pretty poorly. And it does depend on your specific configuration of Clover, how you sideboard, which may seem paradoxical because Clover doesn't sideboard much, but the little bit you do does matter. Alright, so I think I'm just gonna go for a bunch of... I want to play Lovestruck Beast to block Bone Crusher Giant, and given that I'm doing that, I also want to play the Innkeeper out. So we could get Clarion, we have a Lovestruck surviving. And I think I will then go... Is it worth shocking this in? Only got 1 land in hand, but I'm about to draw a bunch of cards. I don't want to play Clover yet necessarily. I don't have 2 things I want to bounce. I think I'd rather just go Fae of Wishes first. See what I draw, and then we'll see what I want to leave up land-wise to have the Brazen Borrower be available. Or my opponent just scoops, that works too. Imminently, I mean, the key is to play out your hands in such a way that you can actually fight a Nissa that shows up on the board. That's a big one. And boarding in, like I have 3 counter spells on the board you'll see here. I board 2 of these in against them, just because hitting casualties when it first comes out and being able to hit Nissa is really important. Having a couple of counter spells in post board does help. Having Tormod's Crypt is also, I think, a thing that I do that some people don't do in their sideboards, which is pretty helpful for fighting Uro. It just lets you have a bunch of... have multiple options for taking care of it. Grafdigger's Cage can get casualtied, and also is just more expensive. But it's not an easy matchup. It's definitely not an easy matchup. Hopefully, eventually, the aggro decks will adjust to keep the Sultai numbers down a bit, but if Sultai is the most popular deck in the format, then I would probably be trying to find some deck to beat Sultai more consistently than Clover does, because I think the Clover matchup's too even for my tastes. And I am not sideboarding here. Yeah, Coverman, going up to a bunch of Gust is a thing we've done in the past for other metagames, and I could see it working again. Seeing these two together does make me wonder if Of One Mind might be... this might be a little too much card draw. Yeah, I also expect there probably is a build of Rakdos that's good against current Sultai, but I'm not sure about that. I feel like I'm not in a big rush to cycle Boon right now. Let's put this land out tapped. I did think about doing the cycle thing. No Raptors, sure. What are the odds that I am stomping a 3-drop this turn? Probably pretty low. At this point, I'm ready to cycle Boon, if it comes to that. Yeah, I feel like there's almost no way that Rakdos vs. Adventures is not, like, pretty even. Okay, so notably we can't kill this with Bone Crusher, can we? Yeah, we can't. If we have 3 stomps, we can stomp our opponent, and then Prevention stops, and then we can hit the Capridor twice. Except for that, no, it still gets the counters, right? So that never works. I feel like it still gets the counters, and that shouldn't ever work. But I'm actually not 100% sure. Alright, so what I want to do here is just go with Clover this turn, then Double Wish next turn. One of the wishes can get an unsummon or something in case this Capridor gets big. Hey there, PTH. Okay, Marauding Raptor, that one we can stomp. Okay, so any future Capridors will be very large, but they would need the future Capridors. Huh. I wonder if I'm supposed to just get Storm's Wrath unsummoned so I can kill both Raptors and then unsummon the Capridor when all is said and done? That seems not unreasonable. I definitely don't need card draw at the moment. Yeah, I think I'm down for Storm's Wrath unsummon here. Storm's Wrath also clears up a lot of things they might play post-Raptor. I guess the risk is they play another Capridor next turn. They play another Capridor this turn. Definitely getting unsummoned, and then the question is the other card Storm's Wrath? It could be Expansion. Unsummon something else. Could be Redcap Melee to cheaply kill off one of the Raptors. Let's actually do Redcap Melee. I think Storm's Wrath against Capridor makes me a little more vulnerable than I really want to be. Congrats, Tito. Are you sure you're number 63? Because I think I'm number 63. But that's an excellent accomplishment. I'm sure you're much better at Magic than I was when I was 12. As I recall, I played mostly Elf decks. Alright, how about this turn? So... I could play Fae of Wishes, which blocks a Marauding Raptor. I could play Clover. I think I like Fae, Clover, hold up... I can't hold up Unsummon and Redcap Melee unless I play Steam Vents. Alright, let's go Clover, Fae, Melee, or Raptor, I think. tricky position. Okay, opponent's choice is to go Storm's Wrath. I mean, cool. I guess that does make a large Capridor, but one I can bounce. That's another Clover. Let's just get rid of you for a hot second, and then we'll Triple Wish, I think. So our life total is getting a bit low. Opponent could have something big and hasty that might scare me. What I think I want is now Shadow Spear. Tito, the MIQ. That's a historic tournament, if I'm thinking of that. Wait. Oh, the upcoming monthly tournament? Probably, if it's standard. I think Clover's a good standard deck. I could get Gust as a general kind of interacted. I think Primal Might seems pretty nice as a combination with Shadow Spear, just to gain a bunch of life. And then, do I want something that interacts with a Capridor? Or do I just want, like, Escape to the Wilds? I'm not thinking through this as carefully as I ought to be. Want some Future Grabs and Summon, which is pretty much my only way to deal with a big Capridor. I do also have a lot of blockers for one. I don't think I need Escape. I have a lot of card draw available to me. Although Escape probably hits a Borrower. Oh, its whole text box goes off? That's reasonable then. Alright, in that case, I'm going to take Escape. If I had a Fabled Passage there, I think Fabled Passage would have been an easy pick. Right now I'm without a land in the sideboard, but I'm not sure that's right. Alright. Although the tricky thing about doing the Stomp, hit the Capridor play is that our opponent could just, if they have like a shock or something, they can shock it in response and our play gets ruined. So I think I'm more interested in just going with Escape to the Wilds this turn, holding up some blue in case I hit a Brazen Borrower. And then if I don't, I still get to play a Fae as a chump blocker. Hey there, Bottle Brush. Alright, so, wow. 0 lands, 0 borrowers. This is not ideal, I would say. And I have honestly don't really see myself wishing next turn. I kind of want to just cast the Temporary Fae as a blocker here. Yeah, let's just cast this as a temporary blocker. So Isaiah, the way it works first is that you have to resolve a copy of the spell before damage can't be prevented anymore. So I need to be able to hit my opponent, send 2 copies of the Capridor. The problem is, if I do that and they have an instant speed burn spell, I get blown out, and I might even die for not having a blocker. That's not true, Kellerman? What do you mean? The first copy should absolutely work, right? Absolutely. Oh. If it resolves there... Oh, no, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of some other interaction. There's some interaction where it matters that you order it in a certain way. I think it's like... Is it like Tajik or something? No, y'all are right. You're all right the way this is written. I'm just confused now by what I was thinking of, because there's some other interaction I was thinking of. Well, alright, let's figure out what happens together, shall we? Hit our opponent, hit the Capridor twice. If they have a burn spell to try and save it, we have a red cap melee as backup. This is like experimental stuff because I think we are at this point way, way ahead. Wow, the glowing effect is real. This does not seem like a good Capridor format here. Well, that was interesting. We all learned a lesson here, except Cavalryman, who did know the right interaction right away. Ugly Hoodrat, you earlier asked about the Star City Games tournament. No, I'm just not interested in the Star City Games tournaments, really. given that I already have a regular stream schedule, I mean, I could interrupt that to like to stream the tournament stuff, but it just, I don't know, I haven't looked into them closely. I just haven't been that interested in taking a lot of time out to play like competitive tournament Magic unless it's like a free thing that's happening on Arena versus like paid entry. But I probably should look into it a little more closely now that I'm enjoying Standard again. If somebody wants to save me a bit of time, they could throw a link up in the chat to the rules for how the qualifying works and what the prizes are for the Star City game stuff, like where to sign up. Because since they are daily, I probably should try one at some point. I think when they first went up, I was just like so uninterested in Standard. Free Reclamation ban. Really? Again? It's Saturday night. Where are all the Magic players? Why am I playing against the Capridor deck again? Well, I can't keep this one on the draw. Sorry, OG. I feel like you probably want to be facing a more diverse range of matchups yourself. So I'm assuming they are on the Capridor deck. I guess I throw back a Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher's not the best in this matchup by itself. So strange. Alright, so opponent's got tons of burn. I'm not going to run an Innkeeper right away. No Marauding Raptors. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I think I just thought that Bone Crusher read... There are some cards that read in the reverse. I think they deal damage and then have the damage prevent text later. I might be making that up. That might not be true at all. But I feel like that's my... If I did get that from somewhere, that's probably where I got it from. Well, the place I got it from was my own butt. Which does happen. Aurelia, well... That is a cool red-white aggressive card that lines up somewhat poorly into everything else that's going on here. Probably just don't care that much about paying attention to Aurelia here. Could bounce her, but then I'm really not doing much. I could bounce her, I guess. Alright, I'm going to bounce her. Play Clover, play Innkeeper. If they want to remove Innkeeper, unless they have exactly Shock, which I guess they might, but unless they have exactly Shock, they don't get to play Aurelia again, and I just get the double wish off. So I am exposing Innkeeper here, and Innkeeper probably dies. But I think getting Clover down to be able to double wish is nice. Alright, they did have exactly Shock. Still fine, so they go Aurelia, but having Unsummon makes it really efficient to get rid of her if I want to. Let's just do that, I think. Just letting their big thing sit on the board has no appeal to me. So we'll get Unsummon, we'll get Escape the Wilds. Opponent can't interact with Escape the Wilds in any way. Trying to think what the odds are. They might be playing some kind of protection spell for this. Low enough, I think, and I might want to unsummon something bigger. Zeitgeist, thanks for the follow. First follow of the night, much appreciated. Alright, in comes Aurelia. Just unsummon now. Alright, Brazen Bar will be handy for later if the opponent ever gets any more offense going. And do I hold up the Borrower, or do I just play the tap land? If they don't play out a creature and just attack with Aurelia, I'm happy to give up Brazen Borrower to get rid of her. Given that I have another escape, I think I actually am happy to do that, so I am going to shock in the land. Basically, just want to use my mana as efficiently as possible here. Could also cast Fey of Wishes to chump block. Huh, that actually seems reasonable too. Let's go Fey of Wishes to chump block. Yeah, Genesis, that's a great reason to have Unsummon on the board. JFB, Reckless Airstrike kills artifacts, and I realized recently that I don't think I've killed an enchantment with Return to Nature in a long time. I think there just aren't really very many kill-worthy enchantments at the moment in this format. Do I block Aurelia here? I think I do. The reason being that my opponent's deck plays a bunch of Storm's Wraths. I feel like Fey of Wishes is probably not going to be blocking cheaper creatures so much here. Okay, opponent uses Castle Embers to get through for 1 point of trample damage. That's fine. What in the world is their hand? It's probably just like 5 copies of Deafening Clarion or something? Four Clarion, I've decided, is what must be going on here. Yeah, that's the mana I'm gonna have to use here. Yep, ECD isn't really around, and it wasn't really a spell that you were, like, cared that much about killing, even when it was around. Alright, so we have an Innkeeper. I'm going to start with just tokens into Lovestruck here. We're losing a Fae, but that's fine. If we got a Stomp, we've got, oh, Justice Strike. Okay, that's cute with Capridor, and also is definitely an efficient way to get rid of a Lovestruck Beast. Resurgence. Okay. Am I dead? Has my opponent comboed me out successfully? Okay, my opponent gets to attack twice with Aurelia, but they didn't pump it. Well, they did pump it this time. If they have Raking Claws, I'm almost dead. No, alright. So, good combo. Opponent with me to 7. Didn't really have a good chance of building a board state this game, but that did hurt. All of the things that just happened definitely hurt. Huh. Well, I've got more than enough stomps to clear off Aurelia now. Am I going to do that? Probably. We go Stomp, Stomp. Stomp, can cast Borrower, seems reasonable enough. Just want her dead. And of course we have plenty of backup bounce if this doesn't work. Not super fave any haste stuff. I guess if they have like a Skargan Hellkite or something I could die, which means maybe I am supposed to just be a little bit more careful here. So try and leave up Brazen Borrower, even if it means giving up a bunch of other stuff. Honestly, maybe. It's like I just don't need to be that aggressive here. They have Bonecrusher Giants as direct face burn, but I imagine that most of their damage is coming in the form of creatures. Yeah, let's go with this into Innkeeper. If my opponent Clarions and kills all my 1/1s, it's whatever, we can handle that. And we'll hold up Brazen Borrower, and then if my opponent doesn't do anything here, we get to cast a Brazen Borrower out of exile. Yeah, Snow Monkey, I imagine the Cub Warden's main thing is probably that it gives lifelink to the... gives lifelink to the Capridor once the Capridor is big. Alright, I figured our opponent may not have had a sweeper because they did the stomp thing there, but they did, and it's whatever. Lifelink on Taunter is also nice. Puget Sound. Sorry, Mr. Follow there for a few minutes, but thanks for following. Alright, so I think we're just gonna play some large creatures and try to end this game. This is still game one. It's been kind of a weirdly shaped game. At least we know to watch out for Resurgence next time. Boy, Response is also really good with Capridor. There's some like old standard format in which like red-white Capridor would actually have been like a serious deck, maybe? Like a deck that was more competitive. Like, used to be that a lot of... I feel like there have been standards where almost all the removal is damage-based. Maybe I'm making that up. Anyway, still gonna stick with the... well... When it's got Aurelia, I think I might as well bring in an Ether Gust here over, like, something slow like Boon of the Wishgiver. Roll it like that. So weird the pairing algorithm really just doesn't stop people from getting 2 matches in a row together in what must be a very busy ladder. By the way, public service announcement for folks who don't pay much attention to alternative arena formats. I definitely recommend going and trying the singleton format if you're the kind of person who likes having like fancy versions of cards and you have some gold to spare. You get a super sweet promo Scavenging Ooze and a sweet promo Solemn Simulacrum, both playable cards. And singleton's a fun format. Sidetrack, heyo. How are you doing tonight, my friend? Thank you for using my emotes. Providing a good example to chat. Yeah, double Lovestruck Beast is generally... Right, I forgot. For a second I thought I was playing against a mystery opponent, and then I realized it's still OG Skywalker. Yes, this is a fine keep. That is an oof, JFB. That's an oof. So I think the play here is actually not to run out the second token yet, because Deafening Clarion is a card that my opponent plays a bunch of. Blue Source is awesome. I'm just going to wait. No Capridors. Sure. Yeah, I didn't play much white in that Ikoria draft, so I guess I just didn't have many chances to do Capridor things. Ugly Hero, if you're just looking to win, may I suggest combining all the good blue and green cards into one deck. That is my default strategy for formats like this. It also seems to be Croaky's default strategy, and I think it's pretty good in either case. If a little snooze-worthy. Mono blue sounds fun. Ooh, Fight as One is cute. Okay, let's just nope that. Well, problem is if I nope that, they just get to kill my token, and then the Lovestruck Beasts are shut down. But I also don't really want to lose my Lovestruck Beast. I think this is theft. Huh. Yeah, I'd just be pretty annoyed if they got to attack me for 5 here, too. That was a nice, good chunk of damage. Yeah, the correct order, of course, there is to block first and then cast the Fight as One. To prevent blowouts such as the one seen there. Not really a blowout, but to prevent plays such as the one seen there. Huh. Alright, given the absolute lack of pressure here, I'm just going to wish for escape. Okay, Aurelia is annoying to kill with Bone Crusher Giants for sure. We do have to watch out for Resurgence. That's a Clover. Love seeing the Clover there. Think it's worth shocking to get that down this turn. We have a lot of stuff to maybe do next turn. Rumty, I can't tell. I feel like I'm being teased, but I'm not sure about the nature of the teasing. Yep, Snow Monkey, we've got ourselves a 1/1. So the opponent might, depending on what they do this turn, just die. Hey, there it is. It's Cub Warden. All right, that's a lot of sweet lifelink damage, keeping the colors on Aurelia to pump her up. Get that vigilance. Nice, nice. Not going to think through this turn too much ahead of time, because that sometimes ruins the fun of the Magical Mystery Tour Beanstalk Giant stuff. Ah, I see, Rumty. I'm just not sophisticated enough for my own stream. Honestly, chat's completely surpassed me. Alright, so let's go ahead and stomp everything to death. They do have Fight as one. Maybe the play is just Innkeeper into Fae and to hold up one copy of Triple Stomp. That seems pretty reasonable. Does Resurgence give things indestructible? I honestly have no idea. Alright, now I can cast Of One Mind 2. Sure. Alright, so we've got a Triple Stomp, we've got a Flying Blocker. We've got Lovestruck Beast, not attacking here, I think. Just for Strike and Vigilance on that, sure. So if they go for it, we've got the Stomp. We've also got a blocker. I feel like there's nothing our opponent could really combo together to kill us. Storm's Wrath is fine, okay. We will... I'm going to try and stomp. They have a Fight as one. I go to 5, but then I can kill the Aurelia the next turn, and our opponent has not shown any kind of haste at all. I'm down for it. Also, they're just going to die to stomps next turn, so this seems fine. This is actually a little bit weird. I'm just stomping my opponent now. Alright. Not actually weird. So Aurelia takes 4, Aurelia takes 2. I believe that should clean things up. And this should probably end things. When I first saw Bone Crusher Giant previewed, I knew I would be playing that card in everything, because it's really, really busted value-wise, but I didn't quite guess at what the mechanism of my playing it would be. Did not expect the percentage of games I would win with pretty much just stomp damage. Hey Iago, good to see you again. Glad you finally got to play it. This is a good opportunity, and of course, not only is the deck itself likely to be very good after rotation, but a lot of the cards in it are just going to be good in lots of decks, so it's a great one to craft. Alright, let's see if we can hit something that's a little more on meta. Would love to run into some Sultai today just to stretch that matchup a little bit. Stretch the matchup muscles. There are a lot of weird bits of this hand, of course, but I think you have to have a really, really bad... If you throw away a double clover hand, you've got to have a really, really good reason to do that, and I don't think we have a good enough reason to throw back a double clover hand. I am just going to hold on to this one. Obviously, the ideal thing is going to be to find a Beanstalk Giant soon, but even just a red source of mana is fine. Yeah, Puget Sound, is that by newish, do you mean it's newish conceptually, or just like newish as in it's after Cat? Because if it's like a Rakdos deck that isn't like Claim the Firstborn Priest, I'm really curious to see what it is. Would be excited to play against it. Love Beanstalk Giant. That is a really good one. And... Opponent played Fabled Passage first. That makes me think maybe Sultai. Once you have 2 Clovers, then Bone Crusher Giants are pretty good against Sultai, but I think it's enough better for me to hit an Innkeeper, a Fae, an Escape, or another Beanstalk that I'm going to put back Bone Crusher here. I just don't see myself needing 2 Bone Crushers with all the Clovers. Dunno, we'll see how badly I get punished for that. Especially though, like if my opponent goes like Thought Erasure, take my Beanstalk Giant or something, I'm going to really be glad that I was looking for something better than a Bone Crusher here. Ellie Tweet, hey, thanks for the follow. Alright, opponent's on the untapped Overgrown Tomb, which I guess was just for Aether Gust. Sure. Is it Uro? So our hand is super well equipped to beat Anissa, which is nice. We can just stomp her into submission. Another Clover. Alright, so normally my line of play in this kind of spot is to go for Beanstalk into second Clover. But because I have like no way to draw more cards or anything like that, I guess the big risk of not Beanstalking here is if the opponent happens to top deck and want to cast a Thought Erasure, I get kind of blown out if they take Beanstalk Giant. But I actually think the better move here is just to go Clover, triple token. Given they haven't played anything yet, it feels like their most likely thing to have is like a Tef on 4. I like being able to chip at a Tef with the tokens. And I just feel like they don't have a Thought Erasure. Or if they get it next turn, it's going to be pretty rough if the only thing they're doing on turn 4 is playing a Thought Erasure. I feel like they'll go for something else. And of course the token's set up pretty well to restrict Nissa. Just Uro. Alright, so our opponent here, obviously we have kind of a bonkers Clover draw, and our opponent has like a slow Sultai draw. So not a typical game by any means. If they'd had the Thought Erasure on 2 for Beanstalk, this would have been a harder game. Goes for the Shock. Okay. Holding up Aether Gust, I assume. Alright, if we're seeing a Gust, that's absolutely fine. Once I have a bunch of Clovers in play, I pretty much never mind having Beanstalk Giant shuffled back into my deck. Nice. Yeah, I would much rather this hit like 1 copy Beanstalk Giant than, say, Escape to the Wilds later. I expect opponent probably has Casualties of War in hand. Which would be maybe an argument for not casting Lovestruck Beast and instead just playing a 3rd Clover out here. But I think I still Lovestruck. Yeah, worth knowing if the opponent has a Fabled Bash, they can get Uro out, although you can of course stomp Uro to death. Basically, it's one of these games where we have a pretty good board presence, we're pressuring the opponent, we are 1 Escape or Fae away from taking over the game completely. It's pretty comfortable. We also have Boon of the Wishgiver, which is insane here as well. And oof. So my guess is my opponent's hand is something like Casualties, Ugin, maybe another Aether Gust, and honestly, I have no idea. Eligible Innkeeper is a very good draw. I do actually have Lethal. I would not be surprised if the opponent had another Aether Gust, or a Heartless Act or something like that, so didn't really think we were going to get to do that, but it was fun to imagine. And now, pretty sure we're on Clover. So we can Clover, Stomp, and cast Bone Crusher. We can't cast Innkeeper first. I could just go Clover, pass. Opponent presumably just brings out Uro this turn. After which we stomp it to death. Yeah, I'm just gonna go Clover, Breeding Pool, pass. Presumably the opponent's just gonna get Uro out of the yard here. Okay, so we're going to take out Uro before the ability really happens, because we definitely don't want our opponent hitting like a, putting a blue land into play and then suddenly having Ether Gust for one copy of Stomp. Still think Uro should be banned, by the way. I still think Uro is just the most powerful card in the format by a very, very wide margin, as it has been for a long time. Okay, opponent just missing land drops all over the place here, and still in a position ourselves where all we need is an escape or a Fey, and we're good to go. Can we find one yet? Beanstalks, Lovestruck's also acceptable, so opponent could have access to Extinction Event, but at this point, Extinction Event isn't even very good because we have 7 even mana costed 1/1 tokens. Ritual of Soot could get us, but I feel like Ritual of Soot is not common, although you never know, Sultai can be anything. Saint Vanilla, if I had to pick one, I absolutely would have picked Uro. Uro fundamentally transforms games, while Growth Spiral is merely a better ramp spell than other ramp spells. But I think both going away would have been like a nice way to say, like, alright, we're not doing this anymore, folks. We're not doing this like Sultai ramp soup that we've had for a year and a half. Dukester, no. Winota is nowhere close to being ban-worthy. It's unclear whether there's even like a good Winota deck in the format. I think Winota is like an annoying card, and I could respect people who are like, I don't want to play against Winota anymore, it's just kind of a silly kind of gameplay. But, I don't know. Crokies is kind of memeing with Jeskai Winota right now. I don't think that deck looks very good. I think a good player who's prepared for it will generally be able to handle it pretty well. Alright, that should probably be lethal. Ether Gust, Lovestruck, alright, so that should just make Stomps lethal. Didn't need the card draw after all, just 3 Clovers is enough to make everything good. Yeah, Argonaut is decent, but I would say it's far from being proven to be, like, good in this format. Is my opponent's username blank? Or is this like a bug? Oh, their name is in Japanese. Oh, that's funny, Japanese usernames don't render in the little box here? Like, why not? Why not, Wizards? Alright, Sultai. Sideboard playing against Sultai. We cut a Borrower. Borrower is... Actually, we cut a Bone Crusher Giant because stomping things is not that useful. Bouncing Uros is pretty useful. I think you cut one of either one if you wanted to. It's like kind of up in the air. Bring in 2 counterspells, save a third. I like Negate and Ether Gust here, saving a Disdainful Stroke because late in the game you mostly want to counter big spells. And as far as another cut, I think it's just Fae of Wishes. Fae of Wishes is nice if you have a bunch of Clovers. They get pretty good at killing Clovers or countering them post-board. And Fae just doesn't have that much impressive stuff to wish for once you bring in your counterspells. She's good at grabbing, like, Tormod's Cryptograph Digger's Cage, occasionally like an Escape later, but it's really bad early, you don't want to draw too many. I could see cutting Boon instead of Fae also. It's, like, close. Yeah, maybe it's Boon over Fae, I don't know. Sometimes I'll cut a Fae. And it may be that you want to cut Fae instead of Bone Crusher, just because Bone Crusher does a better job of attacking Nissa, which is really, really critical in the matchup. In fact, if I go back, I think that's what I do. I think I would cut 1 Fae, keep all 4 Bone Crushers, all 4 Borrowers. The games where they're able to resolve and have a stable Nissa are much harder to win than the ones where they can't. Yeah, Genesis, I do not doubt that Mardu Winota is kind of a mess to play against. I guess I've seen people play the matchup from both sides at this point, and while it's like not the best matchup Clover has, it seems like a lot of Brazen Borrowers mess them up pretty good. Bloody, hey there, thanks for the resubscription, and Renato Jave, thanks for the follow. Great to see you, Bloody. Hope you're having a good night. I don't know if you're coming from a stream or going to a stream or just hanging out. In any of those cases, glad to have you patronizing the channel. Toradora, good eye, Turbo. beloved show for my wife and I. Super down for this one. This has several important cards, plus early Nissa control. It's a good package. Thought Erasure doesn't take the hand apart, which is always a nice bonus, although you can't really, trying to mulligan for a hand that resists Thought Erasure is kind of nonsensical thinking, because Thought Erasure is much better against mulligans, but it's a good bonus when your hand can handle one. Alright, so we'll just start with Temple of Mystery here. Don't really want to draw more lands if I can help it. Temple's really coming through as being better than Triomes here. Things are going well, Bloody. We're doing quite a bit of winning with Clover lately. I'll keep a Borrower. It's not amazing, but it's a draw with Innkeeper. It can get rid of its Hef, which is one of the things my opponent could do early that's not a Nissa that scares me. You see Mesebag Egg. Mesebag? I have no idea how to pronounce your name, but I am grateful for your following. Thank you. Okay, so I think we just go Temple Innkeeper. Yeah, I like Temple Innkeeper. I suspect that my opponent might be tempted to play Uro and ignore the Innkeeper because this is their Uro turn. There is some degree of wisdom to maybe just playing Clover here and not jamming Innkeeper just yet. Then next turn we have Temple, hold up Aether Gust, hit the Nissa on turn 4, and then we have like Innkeeper Borrower. It's close, it's close, it's close. Yeah, I actually expect that we probably are going to play Aether Gust on turn 3, so let's just play Clover now. Also opens us up to like getting a blowout if we have a Beanstalk Giant next turn. JHGW, thank you for following, and Shibao. We got lots of folks out. Love it. Alright, there they have the Thought Erasure, so we get a little punished if they take Innkeeper, which is what I would expect to see here. But at least it's not ramping, so we don't have to worry about Nissa for a little while. The more I think about it, the more I'm uncertain about the Borrower pick. Hey, thanks, Kevlar Man. Yeah, I'm not going to read it now, but I will open it now to look at later. Kenir! Alright, we got a good follower spree going. Thanks, everybody. We're up to 200 viewers already, and we're not even an hour in. It's going to be a great night. But at Mills Casualties, that does tell me they're probably looking for land drops here. That's the feeling I'm getting. So I'm just going to Temple here, and now we're just looking for any adventure creature. Filtering past Stomping Ground is awesome. Do I play an Innkeeper now? I think I do. That way if I get a Lovestruck Beast next turn or something, I can just play the other Innkeeper and the Beast. Since I have a second Innkeeper, I don't super mind getting Innkeeper killed. True J-Tron, Consistently Dog, Luthalan. Oh, we got a follower spree. Turbo in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Love to see it. I hate to see this mana flood, but so it goes. I think I'm not going to run out the second Innkeeper yet, because if they have Extinction Event, that would be really bad. Just going to hold on to Aether Gust, although they do know about it. So we're drawn pretty poorly. The Sultai deck might be able to work around us here. Another Thought Erasure, alright, sure. We'll see. As usual, it's a position where like a Fae or an Escape would be great. Any adventure creature is also great. Pretty much spells. Pretty much spells are good here. Uro is coming out next turn, though, so I could use something. Fave Wishes for Tormod's Crypt would be absolutely savage. Another Clover, alright. Well, this is the part where our opponent's about to play an Uro. We are just... We're drawing spells, just kind of... this will happen once in a while with Clover. Just like a bad mix of spells where we don't actually have any of the pieces that go with the Innkeepers and Clovers. So our opponent's going to bring out an Uro. We're just going to go pedal to the metal, full out, all the Innkeepers. So many draws here are good, but if we get lands for like a turn or two, we're going to die. But Thought Erasures came out to play here, and it did hurt. One Lovestruck Beast. Or Fave Wishes, or you know what? That'll do too. That'll do too. Gonna play out the Forest first and leave up Steam Vents, because Steam Vents gives me access to Brazen Borrower and Bone Crusher Giant. I guess if I hit Lovestruck Beast now, I'm gonna be sorry, but... Yep, perfect. Perfect. Oh, goodness, yes. That is exactly what the doctor ordered. Now I think we're in a very, very good spot. So Nissa dies. Uro can come back, but it doesn't matter because we can Fave Wishes for an Unsummon. And yep, that's all it took. And you know what? I'm really glad that Escape the Wilds was not chat. I'm really, really glad it wasn't a Nissa who shakes the world. I just think this card makes no sense in Clover. Clover is all about churning through your deck. It's not about... As long as you're churning through your deck, you'll have the mana you need. It's not about, like, jamming a big Planeswalker and hoping your opponent doesn't have an Aether Gust or Casualties of War or anything else to stop it. Just, like, having one big vulnerable permanent is sort of the opposite of the Clover philosophy. Opponent could Casualties of War here and it would barely matter. Narset is admittedly cute against the Innkeepers, but we're not really leaning on the Innkeepers that hard. Yeah, I've just never heard a convincing argument for Nissa aside from, like, Nissa is good and makes mana. But, like, I feel like you need... Sometimes it's fine to just say, like, the power level of the card is the reason you want the card. But I think in a case of a deck where, like, space is as tight as Clover's space is, you just need to go better than that. Like, Nissa is just bad in all of Clover's tightest matchups, including this one. And yeah, I mean... What I would say, Beekeeper, is if Casualties was not around, I'd be a much bigger fan of Nissa. Like, I think it's very much a causal thing. Alright, we get to get 3 cards with Fae, which is awesome. I'm just gonna grab... Alright, Miles, what was your question? Hey, Iago, thanks for the 2nd month resubscription. Superb to have you here. Really grateful for your patronage. Thank you very much. Okay, so I could get Unsummon and jam some stuff through Narset. Definitely getting Tormod's Crypt for these Uros. Think it's just going to be like Crypt, Stroke Escape. It could also be once in future. Tricky. Yeah, I'll pick up another Escape, and I'll pick up a Disdainful Stroke. I would like to kill Narset. Should I get something that helps me kill Narset, like Unsummon? I'll just say Stroke, it's fine. I guess, that was wrong. I should have gotten Red Cap Melee there, chat. I should have gotten Red Cap Melee. What I am going to do now is I'm going to play Fae of Wishes. Obviously, I don't draw cards off of this, but it does help me kill Narset if they down ticket. We crypt away the Uros. So worst case scenario, opponent has like a Thought Erasure next turn. But they have to choose between taking Stroke and taking Escape, and then we just kill Narset, draw 4 cards. Any mass removal they have gets countered by Stroke. Yeah, all we needed to kill Narset was Red Cap Melee, so that was a 1-card package, and probably should have done that. I think there are a lot of convincing arguments you make for different points there. Yeti Kong, thanks for the follow. And hey, congrats on top 8ing the SCG, Beekeeper. I mean, you played really, really well in our match yesterday. I'm not surprised that a good Clover player was able to rise to the top there. I guess the best combination they could possibly have here would be like Extinction Event plus Thought Erasure or a Negate for my Stroke. Heartless Act doesn't really matter. J-Farm, thanks for the follow. Ah, yeah, superb stream. And what better time than the time that we are beating the absolute poop out of Sultai. Alright, so this is an attack, and then use the Force for mana to kill Fae of Wishes. That is totally fine. You got it. So you may have to give up an Innkeeper to kill Narset, but that's fine. Better 1 live Innkeeper than 2 dead ones. Although now, I guess we start with Escape. Yeah, let's start with Escape. This might get negated, which would be fine. Because once these Innkeepers open up, we've got plenty of ammo. Gets gusted back to the top of my library, sure. Don't mind having that one to play again next turn. They have the Heartless Act to kill the other Innkeeper, then it's a little bit of a blowout, but I figured probably not. So I can't quite play Bone Crusher and get Escape back now. But I can play Bone Crusher, draw a card, hold up Disdainful Stroke, which is nice. Temple's gonna filter away... Oh, no, I'll keep a Lovestruck Beast. So yeah, it is funny to think that not getting red cap lane was like a small mistake in the grand scheme of things. It felt like a small mistake because it's not really affecting the outcome of the game. We would have drawn like 3 more cards though. All right, here's Nissa, which is a no. If you want us to negate to challenge this, then we just get to resolve escape and the game ends. Nope. But they had to get through that sooner or later. I'll go escape here first before attacking, because if they want to counter this, they have to tap the forest. Nope. Okay. So that's going to spell an end to this game. Our opponent no longer has any combination of cards that could possibly lead them winning. Unless there's like a planar cleansing effect that I'm forgetting about in these colors. So we'll set up Fling Expansion for lots of redundancy in our kill effect, and a once in future as well. Alright, Masa, thanks for the follow. And great, rank 32. Ran right through Sultai. Draws have been pretty kind to us today. Also, for anyone who's new to the stream, I'm Aaron. I try to play rogue decks most of the time, but once in a while, a deck that I built that was rogue originally stops being rogue, and that is the case with Temur Clover. So it's my favorite deck, and I'm playing it to get as high ranking as I can. And if you have questions about my sideboard choices, or just how to play Clover generally, I'm happy to answer them. I love talking about this deck that has done so much for me. Iago, so far Prowlmite's been like alright. It's been really nice to have another 1-mana removal spell, but my suspicion is that I'll eventually go back to Domri's Ambush, especially if Sultai is big. Just because being able to like kill a Nissa in the middle of a complicated board is like a big deal. Anyway, Lilice, Renan, thank you for following. Wonderboy, just look at the link that's been shown up and people have been typing !deck. Huh, do I want to play the Clover now? Yes, I want to play the Clover now. What kind of question is that? Opponent starting out with basic Mountain here is a good sign. Shocks the 1/1. That is an excellent sign. Miles, alright, so your question is just like, why not play the Triome? Yeah, I think the mana's fine without them. I think Scrylands are just a huge deal. I think you often get kind of quickly to positions where you really don't want more lands with the deck. And having access to just like card filtering is a big deal. You do take penalties, right? You need to play more shock lands to keep your colors consistent, which means that you are going to have a harder time against certain aggressive decks. The way I would think of it is like, it feels like you want Triomes if you expect lots of Rakdos, and Scrylands if you expect lots of Sultai, or something like that. And for now, I kind of am mostly wanting to make sure I can hang on against Sultai. Ferox, thank you for the follow. Also, Daedalus United, in case I didn't mention you yet. Alright, so Anax Harden in the Forge. So what's this best thing our opponent could do here? They could play like a Torbrand next turn, and then hit me with an Anax that's pretty big, but I can kill it with Lovestruck Beast. Hey, J-Rock, thanks for the raid. Awesome. So this is Jean-Emmanuel Dupraz. I think that's me getting the name right. Known as, notably, the first pro ever to play Temur Clover in a big professional tournament. It was a weird list. It didn't have any Edgewell Innkeepers and had a bunch of Hydroid Crisis instead, but, you know, it was still early times for Clover Theory. People were still working stuff out. I'm just going to make a lot of creatures. Bonsoir, bonsoir. And in fact, we are definitely the aggro player. With the Brazen Borrower in hand, we are absolutely the aggro player. Let's mash our opponent with this Lovestruck. Huh, Nightbot's emotes are broken. Yes, that does seem to be true, Snow Monkey. Hotners9, thanks for the follow. Bonsoir, Necrotic. Sorry for my accent. Anthony Farnham, yep. So we've made some changes. Some of them are experimental, some of them less so. We're trying a Primal Might in the sideboard right now, for example, and I'm pretty sure Tormod's Crypt is a thing you should be doing. Alright, let's beat our opponent's head in with some Lovestruck Beasts. Maybe just one Lovestruck Beast? Both? If we bounce Anax and Spitter, we get in for a lot of damage. We are at some risk of the opponent killing both tokens and stymieing the aggro plan, though. These Fave Wishes are really annoying to use. I might just cast one. Alright, that's actually my plan. Is we're going to swing with both Lovestrucks. Let the opponent block with Spitter if they want to. Then we'll cast one of the 3 Fave Wishes we've got in our hand and prepare a double bounce. That should be pretty good. I don't really want to do the bounce yet. I prefer to keep the bounce as surprise. My opponent might just leave themselves dead if they don't know about it. Yeah, Luthalin, it's a pretty wonky economy system that I'm not a big fan of. You do have to just buy the packs for wild cards, although there are a lot of ways to earn gold. Bonus cards, that sort of thing. Alright, Torbrand's down, opponent's going for the big attack or something. This isn't even lethal though, so I don't know what we're doing here. So opponent will be dead to this double bounce here. Alright, what's up? What are we doing? What are we doing? Cool. Decision made. Good choice, Weed. That is the decision that I make every time I play Arena. Should I go out or should I watch myself play Arena? Yeah, I will say that if you want to start with a deck and you don't mind picking up something that's a bit complicated, then this is a really good deck to start out with because cards like Brazen Borrower, Bone Crusher Giant, and Lovestruck Beast are all like very common in a bunch of other decks too. So they're good cards to acquire. I also expect Fae of Wishes to be pretty common post-rotation in a lot of decks because it's just a high-powered card and a lot of good stuff is leaving. Mono Red, anyway, Mono Red sideboard plan. We cut expensive stuff. We add cheap stuff. Done. Zone Wolf, I mean... Yeah, complex question. I think the Sultai matchup is close. Whether who it favors may depend on the precise Sultai list, because I'm not sure anything is quite standard yet. My impression is that the main thing Temur needs to do is just control Nissa. If you can keep Nissa restrained and like not on the board, you're going to be in pretty good shape. If Nissa comes down and gets to sit around, you're probably going to lose. And so you really want to like think about your hands and your lines of play such that if my opponent plays a Nissa, can I handle her? And if you do that, you're probably in good shape. So opponent's got a good aggressive draw here. They do trade the Spitter early, which I like. But the fact that all my lands are shock lands is going to hurt this game, might make it hard to win. We'll see. Although that's not a shock land, which is excellent. So definitely a Clover here. We get a little bit punished if the opponent kills it and I didn't stomp the robber, but if they don't kill it, we get to next turn Beanstalk and stomp 2 things. Alright, so we did lose Clover, a little sad, but that's okay. The opponent basically played a 3-mana 2/1 that kills a Clover, which is a thing we can live with. And they have Primal Might, which is an awkward one to try and use with Robber of the Rich. So now I'm just going to play a 5/5, and even if they have like Embercleave next turn, we still get to trade with whatever they put an Embercleave on and then stomp their other creature, which buys us a lot of time to start casting Beanstalk Giants, and Beanstalk Giant doesn't care about Embercleave. Yep, Extinction Event matters a lot. The number of casualties, I've seen it range from 2 to 4. Okay, so opponent's going to get to do some stuff here, but nothing too important. But the robber did draw some cards well. They could use Primal Might to fight Lovestruck Beast, but they're trading a whole creature to do that, which doesn't seem awesome. Is that what we're doing? That is what we're doing. Alright, so opponent inexplicably spent way too much mana, and they didn't get to play Innkeeper. That doesn't seem right. So options. I would like to Beanstalk Giant this turn. Grab a mountain. And then the question is, do I stomp the Scorch Spitter now to make light up the stage much worse, or do I try to hold stomp for like a better creature? I'm going to shock this in. I'm going to wait, and then I'll stomp Spitter if my opponent doesn't give me anything better to stomp, like another robber. Aether Gust protecting against Embercleave is a big deal. So worst case scenario, I guess my opponent has a stomp of their own. They could have stomped their own Spitter with a Bone Crusher Giant to make my Bone Crusher Giant go away. Wow, alright, they're just choosing to be super aggressive instead. If their last card's Embercleave, this play does make a lot of sense, though. And kind of feel like their last card's Embercleave. I'm just going to play this Bone Crusher Giant. Not going to play Innkeeper first, because I really have a very strong sense that my opponent's about to play Embercleave. It's just Robber of the Rich, okay? Deal. You play that, I think I'm just going to Gust it. And now, despite being on 5 life, we should be in a pretty good spot. Obviously, the red deck could kill us from 5 life, but they don't play a lot of burn. We've still got good coverage on potential shenanigans with Embercleave. The question is, do we Beanstalk Giant now, guaranteeing that we get to cast... Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's actually really obviously the play. So we do this... Getting lots of blue mana because our deck is very blue mana hungry. Did not mean to turn on full control. Well, Bloody, I can't wait to watch that stream. Only thing better than playing Clover is watching friends play Clover. Do I keep Lovestruck Beast? Lovestruck Beast is actually like kind of a little redundant. In that I can just play Beanstalk Giant next turn. Is there a reason I would want this over Beanstalk Giant? It does let me play Brazen. It does let me get a lot of offense going on the board really fast, which is nice. But I think the easiest win condition here is just drawing Fey Wishes and putting a Shadow Spear on a Beanstalk Giant. So I think I actually bottom this. It's close, that might be wrong. So you've still got Embercleave covered. Actually, I guess the best thing about that was that it gave me Embercleave coverage without needing to tap, because I could play like 4 mana worth of spells and still hold up Borrower, which is nice. Okay, opponent maybe just looking to trade, which would be fine. Looks like no cleave, cool. Something else? Scorch Spitter, Alright, I'm going to just bounce that now, I think. Turns off light up the stage being a thing, and I'm just going to be playing Beanstalk Giant next turn anyway. No longer scared of Embercleave. Waffle House Ninja Eki Libre, thank you for following. And yep, alright, so we hit the perfect draw there. It's a Shadow Spear, basically. So... as long as our opponent doesn't draw 5 points of burn this turn, which seems hard, yep, we win. Red deck flooded a bit. Howdy, Cerusium. And rank 21. I like it, I like it, I like it. Gonna have to do the full croaky soon and be like, top 20 Temur adventures. Making fun of him for no reason. It's perfectly legit to have that be your stream title. And his Jeskai Winota deck, though I don't think it's gonna last long in the format if it gets popular, I think it is really sweet looking and is a definitely, you know, one of those great classic like one day deck builds that looks really good. Definitely a stream worth watching if you want to see a good brewer. Zone Wolf, Narset is not particularly good against Steamer. It's okay. Alright, so... pretty sure I just want to Innkeeper on one here. Yeah, I'm just going to Innkeeper on one here. The generic thing I assume opponents are playing if I have to consider what play to make is like Sultai. And I would Innkeeper on one against Sultai, so I'll do it here. So this looks like it's probably... well, Temple of Silence is too early to tell. If it's Orzhov Yorion, that would be sweet. I've been waiting to play Orzhov Yorion for a while. Is Boon the truth? I don't know yet. I am still seeking the truth. Seasoned Hellblade. Alright, so we've got Orzhov aggro stuff, or this is probably just Mardu Winota, come to think of it. This is probably just Mardu Winota. Seasoned Hellblade is very bad against Temur Adventures. Very, very bad against Temur Adventures. We have an extremely easy time forcing the opponent to discard cards to it without actually giving real resources up in the process, which is just amazing. Yeah, the card is powerful, Big Tony. Would not be... okay, Rotting Regisaur. Maybe this isn't Winota. Maybe this is just like... this looks a lot like the anti-Reclamation deck from the Pro Tour. But Reclamation's gone. Maybe our opponent's just kind of like sitting in like a metaphorical bunker, being afraid of Reclamation. Despite its vanquishment. So the thing that scares me most here is the possibility that my opponent goes for Demonic Embrace on this Rotting Regisaur. That would be very terrifying, and I would not like it. I'm going to offer the trade of Lovestruck plus a Stomp for this Regisaur. This is going to look like a weird attack, but I swear it's legit. Because I'm really just trying to think, like, how could my opponent beat me here? And I think the main way they beat me is putting a Demonic Embrace on this Rotting Regisaur. Maybe too early to call, but given that I have another Lovestruck Beast as backup, super into just going, like, stomp this thing, get it out of here, no Regisaur. If it turns out later that my opponent's deck did not play Demonic Embrace, that was a horrible attack, and I should have just, like, made another Lovestruck Beast and forced my opponent to discard to that thing. But I'm comfortable with the decision. Alright, so if my opponent wants to start trading cards in their hand for my 1/1s, I am incredibly interested in making that trade. Gutter Bones? Sure. Whatever, it's a 2/1, you can't play this turn. And Spawn of Mayhem, all big and stuff, so... I think that means I'm going to cycle Boon here. That's like a big enough threat that I would like to find like a Brazen Borrow or something. I don't think we're going to have time to play Boon as a draw 4. But we'll see. Okay, lots more lands, so maybe we'll get punished for cycling that. Hard to tell. Start with Lovestruck Beast, which is just a big creature that can pressure my opponent back as we get pressured. And I chose to leave up this man in case we found a Borrower. It does mean we have to shock in if we want to stomp here. I would rather not shock in. I'm just going to play this out tapped. It's a tough one. We kind of hit a huge flood in the middle of the deck. We do need a Brazen Borrower or a Fae of Wishes to deal with Spawn of Mayhem at some point. Zone Wolf. Have not tested Radha. I think Radha's a powerful card. My issue with her is that she is a really awkward mana cost. Everything in this deck already costs 3 mana. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and attack back. Blacklands Paragon? Alright, Blacklands Paragon coming down. I will shock that one out of the way. Maybe gets village rights? Nope. Okay. They have another one? Alright, opponent gets me pretty good with that. That was cute. The person asking if adventures can live without shock lands. I mean, it depends what the next lands are. It's very, very likely we're going to get a new cycle of lands that help to make multiple colors of mana. That's pretty much how Magic always is. And the question is, will the new cycle be good enough for 3-color decks to feel comfortable? Alright, so we're now down to, like, needing an answer to this thing within 2 turns. We do have some more cards. Still incredibly interested in trading my opponent's cards for my 1/1s. Okay. Alright, another spawn. So now I really do need the Brazen Borrower. I have 2 cards to find one. Fae of Wishes. Is that fast enough? Alright, that actually should just barely work. It's going to be close, but I think it should barely work. So the incredibly risky land would be to play Bone Crusher and pray that we hit the 9% chance or whatever of having a Borrower on top. The less risky play is to go Forest, Clover, Double Wish with Fae. Holding up, so we could get either Unsummon or Redcap Melee to kill one of the spawns. Think I just want Redcap Melee here. Not really interested in having it come back down. My life is much easier if it doesn't come back down. This is our opponent reveals that the last card in their hand is Fight as one and we lose, but so it goes. They're too small for Reckless Airstrike. Primal Might's not going to do anything, so it's definitely Redcap Melee. And sadly didn't have quite enough mana to go with Storm's Wrath, which would have been a nice choice too. So we're doing this, and the question is, what else do I pick up? Shadow Spear is interesting because it lets me keep up with the spawns. Damage output. Escape the Wilds just lets me find lots of new cards, among which Brazen Borrower is pretty likely to be found. Once in Future lets me recycle a Bone Crusher Giant from the graveyard after blocking Seasoned Hellblade, which lets me double stomp a spawn. What else is in my graveyard? Yeah, actually, I think I'm pretty into Once in Future. Although it's really bad if my opponent just doesn't attack with Seasoned Hellblade. No, I'll get Escape. Tough decision, tough decision. No Fight is one. Good. We also have Fae of Wishes to block a spawn, of course. Yeah, but so it's true. Once Future can get back the melee, it's just much worse if my opponent deploys any other threats I have to care about this game. Seeing Spawn of Mayhem makes me less inclined to think Demonic Embrace, but Seasoned Hellblade makes me more inclined to think of it. If they attack with Hellblade, am I blocking with Innkeeper or Bone Crusher? I believe the correct answer here is Bone Crusher. Innkeeper drawing a card off a Fae is a big deal. Ooh, right, this is an instant speed ability. I forgot about that. That's cute. So they can now pay 3 basically to give the Hellblade indestructible if they have a spawn out. It's awfully expensive, though. Miles, what do you mean, didn't I want Bone Crusher in hand? And Zomolf, yeah, glad you're enjoying the stream. Alright, so we had a Beanstalk Giant, which is not ideal, so this turn... Gonna start with Escape to the Wilds, leaving up a blue mana, because if we hit a Brazen Borrower, we should win. If we don't, I will be able to cast Fae of Wishes and install blockers for both my opponent's creatures, though we do die a removal spell then. But we still die to a removal spell and Fae of Wishes if we just cast it and don't hit anything, so... Odds of hitting a Borrower here are pretty good. We've missed on them so far. We got 5 looks in 42 cards. There's a Borrower. Nice, nice. So we get to do that. We get to Beanstalk as well. We've still got plenty of islands in the deck. And we're going to Borrow instead of Double Stomping, because I don't want to have to give up Innkeeper to block Seasoned Hellblade next turn. or, you know, die to opponent having removal from my Innkeeper. Makes sense, Miles. Yeah, I eventually decided that it felt like Escape was more likely to get me the abundance of resources I need to get over the top, but it's never certain. So the combination of things that kills me here would be Black Lance Paragon into some kind of removal spell. Opponent's already used 2 Black Lances, though. We'll see. That would be what would get me, and I don't think we had a way around that, but definitely not attack with Innkeeper because they do have Black Lance Paragon that we have seen in their deck. Rankle would also get us. Rankle is definitely a card we have to think about if we don't die to it this turn. Okay, no Rankle is great. Love to see no Rankle. Opponent holding up 2 mana here. I guess they knew that Spawn was just going to die to a double stomp. This is still fine, though. Alright, we'll start with Double Bean here. Yeah, Weed Magic. Once again, this is one of those games that you refer to as an epic comeback, but I just think of it as like, we just waited until we drew Brazen Borrower, and then we won when we drew the Brazen Borrower. I feel like the comebacks are the ones where I'm like not certain of what happens even if I get my plan together. I guess I'm still not certain. We could still be surprised by something. Alright, so we got 7 mana, which is enough for a Stomp plus... Could cast Beanstalk Giant here. If I just cast Beanstalk Giant and my opponent doesn't kill me, then I can win with Shadow Spear next turn, which seems pretty appealing. So I think I'm just going for that. Could also Stomp the Hellblade, getting a card out of the opponent's hand. If they have like Heartless Act for Beanstalk Giant, the Spear plan could work out pretty badly. Alright, let's not do that. Spear plan still works out even if we're just putting on a 4-3 or whatever. So we're going to take another one of our opponent's cards. One gets rid of Hunted Nightmare. Okay, another card that makes sense for them to have in their deck, and it's another card that doesn't pose any risk of actually killing me this game, which is awesome. Then we just cast the Bone Crusher and probably just bounce the Hallowblade just to have something to do with this Borrower. Ooh, never mind. All right, so we're going to lose this Borrower, but my opponent doesn't know about this Borrower, so I'm going to hold this one in hand now. And still passing, still not attacking the Innkeeper here. The 1 damage isn't going to matter, and he might as well be maximally safe. So opponent doesn't know about the other Borrower. My hope is they just play Spawn of Mayhem like they just did, and then I bounce both of them and I go to Shadow Spear and win the game. Seasoned Hellblade, embarrassed not only by Lovestruck tokens, but also Fate of Wishes. JFB, that would have been the right play, except for that Bone Crusher was going to be exile off Escape the Wilds, so we didn't have it until that turn. It wasn't going to last through their next turn. Alright, so black-white aggro. Feels like a deck where it's reasonable to bring in a Primal Might over an Escape the Wilds and otherwise keep things the same. Or is it Boon? I think it's Boon. Well, no, Boon can cycle into interaction. It's a little better than Escape here, probably. Okay. Luke asks 74, thanks for the follow. 400 people. Yikes. Love it, love it. Well, I guess I'll have to stop and add a little rank signifier after this match. At least if my rank goes up, maybe not if my rank goes down. Alright, so yes, this is a keep. Lovestruck Beast is a lot of delay for their deck full of X1s by itself. And if once we had a 3rd land, we have access to double Bone Crusher. Primal Might's a great removal spell for a Spawn of Mayhem. So pretty much any draw I had was going to be fine with this hand, even though I only had the 2 lands. 3rd land's awesome. I think we just go for another token. No need to shock in. Yeah, Primal Might being like a clean answer to Spawn of Mayhem is just amazing. And do I attack? Yeah, I do. They could have Black Lance Paragon or whatever, but I don't care about trading the 1/1 for a Black Lance Paragon. Rotting Regisaur. Alright, so once again, Demonic Embrace is scary, but Primal Might actually makes it less so. So play here is just going to be Lovestruck Beast. So even if they put a Demonic Embrace on this thing, they get a big creature. And it looks tempting to double block this, but I'm actually just going to single block it here. I think it's pretty likely that if I go for the double block, well... If I double block, I think it's pretty likely they have some kind of removal spell to take out Lovestruck Beast. But... is that really all that bad if they spend their whole turn on that? I guess it's not. I guess it's not. Sure. Show me your Eliminate or whatever. Yeah, it makes them keep... yeah, the other thing about blocking with just the token is you just force them to keep discarding, which is a thing that like our deck pretty much does welcome. Youngfire, yeah, I remember ya. Thank you for the kind words. Woo! Found a piece of candy, chat. Found a piece of candy. Huh. So we got a couple options here. One is just go tap Steam Vent's Lovestruck Beast, threaten to double block Regisaur again, and do Clover stuff later. The spicier play is to go shock in, play Clover, hold up double stomp, so that even if the opponent, any creature the opponent plays maybe just dies. Like we get a lot of tempo with Bone Crusher Giant that way, can we still chump the Regisaur? But I think the right answer here is still just to go for the Lovestruck Beast. I'm still slightly concerned about the possibility of Demonic Embrace. We will just lose to Demonic Embrace if... well, if I play Clover and they Demonic Embrace, I can, like, quadruple stomp it the next turn. Let's go for this, though. Runs in the Black, Medicus, Cadrio, thank you all for following. Alright, I mean, I'm doing this again. They have another Eliminate, they go to 2 cards in hand. And we can just quadruple stomp the Regisaur at some point. Yeah, this is fine, this is fine. Yeah, Jammerot, I'm coming closer to, I think, wanting Ambush back in. I'm very indecisive in general as a person, which makes it tough. Alright, so here we just have Clover into Beanstalk. Beanstalk's gonna get enough mana that I can just play a Beanstalk next turn, and Beanstalk does take care of Regisaur pretty well. If the opponent jams a Black Lance Paragon, we can just stomp it. So there are ways our opponent could beat us here. I don't really know what's in their deck, but they are running lower on stuff to do. Plus, if we find a land next turn, we can just play Beanstalk and Primal Might, trade it with Regisaur. That's an option. It's one we're probably not going to take, but it's one we have. There's Paragon, sure. Do I just kill this now? I believe I'm just supposed to kill this now. You never know if they meta fight as one or something. I guess the thing is basically how likely is they fight as one versus something like a Rankle, which I would much rather stomp. Well, I guess we'll find out. Duck Butter, I don't know. They might be in the store right now. Not sure. Alright, so I'm just going to Innkeeper, Bone Crusher. That puts enough chump blockers in front of Regisaur that we're pretty safe. We're still not into Demonic Embrace. And if they attack with Regisaur and a Bone Crusher, I can just block plus do stomps. Ah, yeah, that's true, Dukester. Murderous Rider, ooh, spicy. Spicy. Okay, I see you, opponent, I see you. Alright, Bone Crusher is down. Opponent takes 4 on killing that. So the big question is basically, am I going to chump this Regisaur next turn with the Innkeeper? I don't know. Don't know if that's correct. I think I don't. I think I don't. I think given that I don't have a lot of material in hand, it seems better to try and be more cautious. Okay, opponent has Temple of Silence. I love it when they're forced to play a land because it's beneficial, but then it tells me they have nothing in hand. Yeah, Beanstalk can kill it. The question is just like, is being at 6 life like risky for me dying to other things like a Rankle off the top? Jovialis, you don't sideboard much. Usually it's just you bring out a couple of slow cards against an aggro deck, or a couple of faster cards, or a couple of cards that are weak in whatever matchup, and you bring in a couple of sideboard cards that are good, and you leave just enough stuff that you can still wish effectively. It's an art, but it's an art that's learnable. Okay, so we have 8 mana now, which means I can Temple, Scry for any kind of good stuff. Not that. Play Beanstalk, play Primalite. Clear out Robbie Rotten over here. Huh, actually, I guess... Alright, I was going to say Primalite can set up a kill if we just play it next turn, but our opponent's just going to be dead anyway next turn. And this lets me be unafraid of Demonic Embrace. Love not having to be afraid of Demonic Embrace. That's a good question, Iago. I'm not sure. Consider that they do gain 2 life off a Murderous Rider having lifelink. But that's a good question. I should have thought about it. Let's actually see. Oh, so we had 9 lands that turn, which is dealing 9 off Innkeeper plus 4 off. So I think we would have been just short. All right, let's call it top 20 Temur Clover now. Nice, smooth ride. And I am going to get some water. I will be right back. Oh, sorry for burning anybody's eyes. We're back. DH Sokar, Ku01124, thank you for following. Top 10 soon, God willing, Ansky. Cornswallow. General Cornswallow. No, I don't think so. Oof. Well, that's much worse, but we are going to keep it. Darn it. That first hand was close. With the Cycler, that first hand was very close. Organic Chicken have not actually run that much into Winota, to be honest. Matchup seems like it should be pretty alright. Paradise Druid, so this tells me this is probably Flash. Normally we devour blue-green Flash or Temur Flash or whatever, but our hand is really bad, so I think we're going to struggle today. Oh god, opponent's just going to play Nightpack Ambusher and we're going to lose. But we could try to hold up Borrowed like stall a Nightpack Ambusher, but I think that's just not a winning strategy. I think the winning strategy is to let them play it, hope they don't have a counterspell, and then Red Cap melee it next turn. And then recover from there, although, again, it's tough. Not sure yet, Bottle Brush, it's early days. Okay, so I'm going to try and resolve a Fae of Wishes. If this doesn't work, we're just going to lose. We kept a slow hand, opponent had the turn 3, and Ambusher on the play, and that's that. Alright, it looks like things are resolving. So we stand to take 9 next turn. I think I'm just supposed to get Storm's Wrath and pray they don't have a counterspell again. I think just meleeing the Ambusher and having to lose a land in the process is a little bit too bad. And, alright, we would have been dead to another ambusher. We're dead to a counterspell. All my spells have resolved without anything happening so far. So I'm hopeful. Nissa would have killed us just about. Alright, well, here goes nothing, chat. We're going to play a land to play around Quench, and we're going to Storm's Wrath, and if it resolves, we're going to win. Well, we're going to have a chance. If it doesn't, we're going to lose. So it goes. Wow, that just straight worked. Okay. I mean, cool. I guess they don't even have another ambusher, so I might as well play this Fae. Is this gonna get quenched? Oh, it gets scattered. I see, opponent. I see. Essence Scatter against Temur Clover, imagine. Imagine. Yeah, that never works, DH Sokar. We're just having a good night. I'm like, I was not expecting that to work at all, to be honest. Alright, let's start with, Heart's Desire is a bait. If I Heart's Desire is a bait and they counter it, I can wish for something and then play Fae, which is good. If I just play I could also just play a 5/5 and wish. Having the 5/5 in play is protection against Ambusher, Cutthroat, all that kind of thing. Let's go with the bait play. That worked, okay. Then we'll go for Fae. Maybe this gets frilled. No, it worked. Okay, so I could take Disdainful Stroke. Every spell my opponent has that scares me is a 4-drop, or better. With the exception of, I guess, Shark Typhoon, which I have a Brazen Borrower for. Yeah, I think it's just Disdainful here. And pass. And if they have Shark Typhoon, we can borrow it. So it's whatever. Yeah, no stop Simic Flash. I never thought I'd see the day. Clover. Cool. And we're just going to Love Struck, Hold Up Stroke, and now double bounce, and now we should be pretty protected against any shenanigans. That one also gets scattered. Alright, so opponent just had the bunch of Essence Scatters hand. If I play Fave Wishes, it still gives him window to potentially resolve Nissa? So I think I still hold off on that. If they resolve Nightpick Ambusher as a sorcery, I just Fave Wishes to get a red cap melee and kill it. If they play Nissa, things could get complicated, so I really just see no reason to let the guard down yet. Hold back the token in case of Brineborn Cutthroat. Okay, Spectral Sailor. That's a reason to play Fey of Wishes. But it's not going to kill us very fast.
No mail today, maybe tomorrow.
Stomp's good. Okay, let's go with that then. Now, do I try and stomp my opponent in the Sailor, or do I just go for... I'll just go Opponent Sailor. They can now just counter the copy targeting Sailor, which would save the Sailor, but actually they can't. Cool. We have Mystical Dispute even covered, which is great. And now with Bone Crusher Giant in play, we'll have Nissa covered, which is awesome. Alright, Disdainful Stroke paid off. I still can't believe that Storm's Wrath resolved. I feel like part of my brain is still living in a parallel universe where of course the Storm's Wrath didn't resolve, because why did I think the Storm's Wrath was going to resolve? Like, what kind of idiot would think the Storm's Wrath was going to resolve? Alright, let's think about this turn a little bit. So I could play the Clover before doing all the Wish stuff. I could also just double Wish, which gives me more flexibility with my mana. I'll go for Clover first. Nightpack Ambusher is really the only card that scares me, and I can just Wish for Red Cap melee. I guess they could have Whirlwind Denial. If they have main deck Whirlwind Denial, then good beats. So I'm going to pick up a nice melee, which also deals with Nissa pretty well. Gonna pick up a nice Shadow Spear should put me out of range of being dead to a lot of things pretty fast. And I'll also grab, I think, Once in Future is a little better. Oh, Once in Future actually isn't great because I only have 2 green mana. Could just get Unsummon, which also handles things pretty well. Ether Gust takes care of some things. I'll just take Unsummon. I'm just gonna like keep everything really low curve, low to the ground, all that stuff. Will attack with Bone Crusher here. The thing I like about Unsummon is with 2 Clovers in the play, remember that Unsummon is a really cheap way to get back your adventure creatures as well. Yeah, so this play leaves me ever so slightly vulnerable to a Nissa, but if they play one, I can chump with the token, I can unsummon the land, I can also just bounce Nissa. Holobaria. The question basically is, like, do I think my opponent's going to counter escape if I tap out for it? And is it better just to get a bunch of, like, I have a bunch of creatures I can play right now. Like, I'm actually just, like, killing my opponent here. And I think I would rather just get a bunch of cheap interactions so that if they do have counter spells, I can weave, like, multiple spell turns with more fluency. Not going to do Shadow Spear, I'm just going to play out a couple of 1/4s, which also render me, like, really safe from a lot of nonsense. Third Scatter. Oh, Sublime Epiphany coming up, yep. So that's fine. So if we had gone for Escape to the Wilds and gotten Sublime Epiphany, it would have been horrible, but we can handle Sublime Epiphany countering my Fae, bouncing my token, and drawing the opponent a card. That's fine. So now... let me just check. Bone Crusher Giant is only target of a spell, so you can equip without taking damage. I had to remind myself of that. It's been a while since I Shadow Speared anything besides a Beanstalk Giant. Yeah, I'll just go Fae. Put this in tapped, play Shadow Spear. Arts and PT, thanks for the follow. Alright, and opponent probably just flooded out and died. Okay, so that Storm's Wrath resolving was an incredible blessing that we are not going to anticipate to happen again. Jeez. Okay, so Escape is a pretty easy cut in this matchup. It's really the important cards in the matchup are Edgewell and Keeper and Lucky Clover. Your 5-drops are not so important. And I just bring in a couple of spells that can stop their scary 4-drops, like Frilled Mystic, Nightbeck Ambusher, and also stop Nissa. And that's about the plan. I could see maybe having Melee in as an answer to Wolves or Unsummon or something like that, but this has kind of been what I've done for this deck for a long time, and it seems to work out okay. Oh, Sublime Epiphany is lots of fun. I look forward to trying to do some Sublime Epiphany stuff at some point in Standard. And Kite Racer, thanks for the follow, as well as Zithabad. BB1983, the best decks in Standard right now are... this feels like pat to say because these are already all great decks, but I would not be surprised if it were Sultai, Rakdos, and Clover as the 3 best decks. I think Clover probably, is going to be relatively even against those other 2. This hand has an Edgewell Innkeeper in it, so we keep it. Our opponent's hand probably doesn't have an Edgewell Innkeeper in it, so they're going to struggle. Dukester, thank you for the resubscription! 4 months. That's a long time. Thank you, my friend. Jammerknot, the boon has been adequate, but I would say. Like, not excited about, not unexcited about it. It's just, with these 1-ofs, it's so hard to, get firm judgments of them. And it's honestly just kind of challenging to say stuff sometimes. So I assume my opponent has some kind of counterspell. I am just going to cast Fey Wishes, and I'm just going to be cycling as much as possible here. This basically turns off Sailor as an attacker, which is nice. And if they choose to counter it, then I got a card anyway. They have another Sailor, great. I really feel like, I don't know what they put back off the mulligan, but unless it was a 3rd Sailor, I don't think you're supposed to keep 2 Sailors. Fey of Wishes just invalidates them so badly. Alright, so this is just gonna... We're just gonna keep playing out things and drawing cards off of them. Morgulot, I think having probably 2 henge is too many. It's a card you really don't want to have in most of your opening hands. It's more of a good card to draw in the mid-game. But I could completely see one copy being a pretty good thing to have in your flex slot. Opponent has made another 1/1 flyer. Alright, so we are now entering the scary turn, where the opponent can do a scary. Ooh, they just go for an Night Pack right away. Opponent is not messing around. I appreciate that. Appreciate opponents who do not mess around. Well, I'm going to start beating down with this Lovestruck Beast. Oh, Weed Magic, I don't think I can stop Crookies from talking bad about Clover, but I might get him to compliment me some more, which I wouldn't mind. Alright, so opponent's going for the block there. I'm just going to bounce this Night Pack Ambusher. And I honestly think I just go for getting another blue land into play. A lack of blue mana is kind of cramping my style here. So we'll Temple. We can also just cycle Boon now. Forest can go back. Borrow Yonder Wolf. Galactic Company Historic is going to be real interesting, Panda. That I am looking forward to trying. That's a little bit luck-based, but also kind of the card. It's the sort of card that's also kind of right up my alley at the same time. Really did mean to cycle that Boon. That's fine, though. That's fine. Alright, so we're going to go Clover here. Gets Frilled Mystic. Sure. Alright, so they had both of the big boys. It's whatever. Still going to attack with Lovestruck here. I am annoyed a little bit by the punt, but now they still just have no offensive presence. And now I just get to play Bone Crusher Giant out, which is gonna... I could stomp the Frilled Mystic. Or I could just play a 4/3 and draw a card. I guess I'll stomp the Frilled Mystic. And is it worth paying 2 to cycle? Yeah, I think it is worth paying 2 to cycle. I'm really annoyed I didn't do it last turn. This has now cost me 2 life. And a bit of card selection at an important time. Escape's nice. Alright, do I just try and jam that? I'll attack with Lovestruck first. And I have a couple options here. I could Fae for Red Cap melee. I could also just cast Escape. Both of those kind of force a counterspell. The question is, which of these am I more interested in resolving? I'm more interested in resolving Escape next turn, so I'm going to go for the Fae plan here. Okay, Frilled again, that's fine. So we've eaten up a couple of those now. Opponent's still just getting whacked by Lovestruck Beast every turn. And now if they want to resolve an Epic Ambusher, we get an Escape to the Wilds, which is awesome. Alright, that's helpful to hear, Wilson. Thanks for letting me know. It's all anecdotes, but that's all Magic ever is, really. Luis Fro, thanks for the follow. Wow, opponent just sat there and took it. Goodness, that's 3 life. That's dead to a fling. Maybe, later. We'll see. Alright, so... I think I'm into Beanstalking here first. If this gets countered, then I can just play a Bone Crusher. Is it Frilled Mystic number 3? No? Okay. Alright. So now this forces them to... Oh no! It's the perfect counter, chat. Alright, alright. So opponent's draw was just Frilled Mystic, Snapback Ambushers, and Rewinds. Alright, we're under pressure now. Now we've got ourselves quite the game on our hands. Amber Prince 2025, thanks for the follow. Alright, well, opponent's been pretty good about only drawing 5 lands. I'm hoping one of the cards in their hand is Sublime Epiphany now. So Lovestruck Beast probably ends up just getting double blocked. I think I start with Bone Crusher here, see what I draw, and then proceed from there. May need to start holding back Lovestruck Beast. As long as we have Innkeeper in play, I'm pretty comfortable just like going card for card with my opponent forever. So I'll play this too, see what I hit before I decide. Okay, Stomp is nice actually. Stomp is pretty nice. So so part of me wants to attack with Lovestruck, they double block, I stomp something. Problem with that is that they can just counter that. I also stomp a Sailor. If I stomp a Sailor, then finding any other way to kill a Sailor, my opponent just loses to Brazen Borrower, which is pretty nice. I can also just cast a 4/3 that draws me a card. Lots of options here. Lots of options. Cerulean Song, thanks for the follow. Here's what I'm actually doing. I'm going to attack with Fae of Wishes. As long as I hold back Lovestruck Beast, I don't need it as a blocker, and this actually does still force my opponent to use resources. Cool. So now they're at 2. So now they're literally dead to stomp. I'm just going to play this, pass the turn, and if they do anything, they die. All right, that works. Well, that was anticlimactic, chat. That was incredibly anticlimactic. Alright. Edgewell Innkeeper, 1, flash, 0, rank, +1. It's gonna be a long road, chat. It's gonna be a long road to rank 1. I don't know, Jovialis. I mean, probably they're supposed to, but I also... Yeah, they're probably supposed to do that. Easy 1 rank, yes. Just gotta do that about 15 more times. Yeah, honestly, even if some people are annoyed by Clover, everybody should be pretty grateful to Clover for keeping Simic Flash way the heck out of Tier 1. So what are you playing right now, Panda? I might have missed that. I guess I just assume that everyone, unless they tell me otherwise, is just a Clover player in chat. Yep, in for this. A little annoying that we can't cast Innkeeper on 1, but that's fine. I want to land off of this. Innkeeper's easy bottom, I just want to draw lands. Dimir Flash probably has a bit more of a chance because they can actually kill Edgewell Innkeeper. But I think fundamentally they still struggle with Lucky Clover and the whole like strategy of what we have going on. Alright, we got Sultai. Looking like Sultai out here. Cool, cool. Ooh, Innkeeper the second. Huh. So the temptation here is to go Beanstalk into Forest, play Innkeeper. It's a little rough in that I'm not using Beanstalk for red sources, but if I have 2 Innkeepers, I'm going to draw red anyway. And pretty sure there's nothing my opponent's going to do next turn that will kill both Innkeepers. Well, Panda Ninja, I hope you get a chance to give it a try yourself. It's a really fun deck. This could also be some kind of rogue Derail Brew. They could be Temur, they could be blue-green like Derail, kind of like cycling cantrip deck. I've seen that before. Alright, Cats on Parade. This should be interesting. Okay, Bone Crusher is neat. Can I get an untapped red source off of one of these two cards so I can kill this Derail? That would be really... Ooh! The luckiest Clover in the world, chat. The luckiest Clover in the world. Goodbye. Could kill Visionary too. Killing mana is not nothing, but I have Nissa pretty under control with my current configuration. Ding, ding, ding. Jovialis, yep, pretty darn close, if not the best. I'm kind of fond of the token. I think the like Strand of Grass kind of going in front of its face is a little bit off. But like the general idea of like something dark in these woods lurks, this is like very in keeping with kind of Mirage art styles. Alright, Opt. So my opponent might be doing something kind of similar to a deck list that Anthony Hodgson posted on Twitter at one point, which I've actually played a little bit of and had some fun with. It's like blue-green cycling, like cycling through with like Opts and also some actual cycling cards. Blue-green draw 2, basically. Fun list. Does not have many counter spells, so I feel like I want to just jam Escape the Wilds here. I think I'll attack first, though. Kaz, thanks for the follow. Although we do have another interesting option, which is just to use Beanstalk Giant and then cast Bone Crusher Giant and draw 2 more cards, which gives me maybe 2 lands. Yeah, this actually isn't an escape turn, not yet. I'm going to save escape for when I have more mana. I'm not as obsessive about that as some people, but I do think it seems right here. So, wow. Alright, main deck Ether Gust was not what I expected to see. Interesting. So now I'm just going to draw 2 cards. A little annoying, this means I can't like wish for Tormod's Crypt later, but getting 2 cards every time is just really nice, and we also have Brazen Borrow for Uro when it comes out, so it's not a concern. Frank HC, I doubt this list has Ugin. Not sure, but something about the Opt plan makes me think that Ugin is less likely versus it being a little bit lower to the ground. I should watch Gortic stream this deck. This deck is fun. I want to see what he's figured out for it. Again, though, if you're playing a blue-green deck that can't kill Edgewell Innkeeper, you better have a really good blue-green deck that can't kill Edgewell Innkeeper. You better have a really good one. Oh, is the Kavartek list just Simic Ramp? Alright, well, I will be on the lookout for Ugins then. As long as we keep drawing cards and hitting land drops, I feel pretty secure. Okay, opponent is getting their mana on too. As long as having Brazen Borrower in play means that Ugin's not such a problem. Alright, so this is a turn where could escape. I think I just want to keep drawing cards. If this opponent's deck is really playing Ugin, then I think I just want to draw as many cards off these Innkeepers as I can while they're around. So I'm bounce Uro, attack for 6. Yeah, more. I mean, expansion honestly is probably, if I had to pick one card from the sideboard right now to cut, I think expansion would be that card. I think it's just not that necessary once you kind of appreciate how to do a bunch of damage to your opponent with all the other cards in Clover. But it's kind of there for like reasons of fondness and because it's hard to figure out what else to put in its place. If I had to cut it right now, I think I just replace it with Fabled Passage. Okay. The other great thing about not playing Escape this turn, of course, is that you get to dodge potential, you get to dodge potential Ether Gust stuff happening. Discontinuity. Discontinuity is pretty good against Clover. If we're, well, in certain spots it is. If I'm like triple bouncing something, discontinuity is a fun way to turn that off, or if you have 6 mana up. Okay, Clover. Yeah, so I was thinking of holding up Brazen Borrower in case they play Ugin next turn. I can just bounce it and then untap with all my mana. But now that I have a Clover, I'm just going to play Clover. Silhouette, close. I think both those are close matchups. Okay, Jerail. That tells me probably not doing Ugin things. Oh, Gadwick. Ooh, Gadwick. Very cute, opponent. Very cute. However, it's still not quite enough engine to concern me. I just bounce 2 cats here. Yeah, I'm pretty into bouncing 2 cats and then just attacking with a bunch of creatures and forcing the opponent to block with real things, like Gadwick and their Llanowar Visionary and stuff. Yep, Miles, I definitely enjoy Clover not getting hit by Ugin. And Io Barcelos, thanks for the follow, or Lo Barcelos? Lo Barcelos, thanks for the follow. Kitty cat, kitty cat. Go away. Just keep on attacking. Keep on not walking into the Ether Gust that my opponent is holding up. Hayden Lingard, thanks for the follow. Okay, opponent got their value off Gadwick. I'm not surprised they're down to trade, but still nice to have it off the board, if that's what happens. Ooh, are they willing to block with mana? I would love to get rid of their mana, especially if it's the mana that represents Ether Gust. That would be amazing. Nah, Frank, I could absolutely see them holding Gust and using it on Escape the Wilds afterwards. But, looks like maybe not. Or are they going to Gust now? Oh man, if they Gust now... Alright, it was a Gust. Sure thing. You know what? I will just put that one right back on... Actually... Well. Do I even want to resolve Escape the Wilds this turn, or I just want to play Lovestruck into Lovestruck? I think I just want to play Lovestruck into Lovestruck, honestly. So I will just put this on top, whatever. Yeah, I'm not the easiest of tops. I kind of want to Feywish at some point, but I think it works out just fine. We'll play this. We're not going to play the land yet because we might draw an untapped land under the Lovestruck Beast and avoid taking damage. Like that one. And now I don't actually have to play Lovestruck Beast. I'm just going to hold on to Brazen Borrower, I think. Brazen Borrower can come down post Ugin and pressure Ugin, which is nice. Also, having a flyer to actually hit my opponent for damage is cool. Opponent is getting to the point where they can play Uro again. Let's see, maybe it's another Gadwick this turn. Just Uro, that's fine. So we're both playing value games, but I think unless you're Sultai and you're like using Casualties of War to manage the Clover count, Temur Clover is just going to beat anything in a value game, long run. You need a combo kill or you need some disruption baked into your value. Yeah, Pen and Ninja, I like Jerail a lot as a card. This is the card I was playing the most on, like, literal day one of M21 being legal. And I'm glad that she's finding a variety of homes. Neutralize, cycling. Oof. Main deck neutralize. I mean, with Jerail I get it, but this was not the draw where you wanted those. Uro's coming out again, sure. I'll just jam Borrower now. Case of mystical dispute nonsense or whatever. Yeah, Colorman, elementals can outvalue well... Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Elementals can outvalue Clover at the cost of a lack of flexibility. I will grant that. The Gadwick attack here certainly is hopeful. Opponent's really hoping this Uro holds the fort. I suspect this Uro is not going to hold the fort too well. Alright, well that was a lot of lands. That was a lot of lands. Slightly annoying, slightly annoying. But fundamentally still fine, I think. Uro gets to attack, I guess. Gotta watch out for the derail pump effect. We have a lot of tokens. So we're now shocking everything in, but that's okay. That's okay. Question is, am I worried enough about a derail activation that I just want to make a bunch of tokens this turn? Honestly, I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes. I could also just cast Lovestruck Beast and have another decent blocker that... Nah, I'm feeling like Ugin is less and less likely the longer this goes on. So I'll Clover again, make a bunch of tokens. If they do Ugin exactly this turn, then we're in trouble. Or at least, not winning as easily as we would have been otherwise. Hello, Tammy. Could also put Wish in hand here, but we can just do that next turn also.
I gotta work.
Alright, Nissa coming down. Cool, cool. So Nissa allows them to have a hasty attacker with a derail activation. Yep, y'all were seeing the best, the rest, but now you get the best. Tammy is home.
Oh, yes. The real talent.
We played an escape and we whiffed pretty hard, boo.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tammy with snacks. Tammy with the late dinner.
Tammy with the dinner that I cooked for her today.
That Aaron cooked for me today.
Very curious what the opponent's got in hand. Probably some lands. They've gotten really deep into their deck at this point, right? Yeah, they're half their cards deep, and we've seen, I guess, 3 Fabled Passage? Just a big Krasis. Okay, how big is this Krasis? Pray tell. It's a Krasis for 5. Alright, so, well, if the opponent doesn't hold up Aether Gust here, we might see a really big boom next turn. Attacking with Uro, attacking with a land is an interesting choice. I guess they did tap my stuff. Yeah, opponent's not going to like how the next turn goes, I think. The land attack was pretty strange. So now what happens is I have access to, let's use Beanstalk Giant, 13 mana. I need 14 mana to bring... Well, I only need 12 mana to bring back Fae and wish for Storm's Wrath plus expansion to clean up the entire board, including the Nissa, the Uro, the Krasis, all of that stuff. And then still have a triple Borrow in my hand in case of shenanigans, which seems pretty good. Is that what I want to do? Can I kill my opponent? I always want to look and see it, make sure I can't kill my opponent. So I can quad Borrow, get rid of almost everything. My opponent takes how much damage? 4, 6, 7, 12, 15? If they block Beast, they take 10. I can then bring back Fae, wish for Fling expansion and kill them. Alright, that works, that works. They're just dead. I had to think about it for a second, but they are just dead. Finally, I've learned to be patient and just look for the kills on these turns when you untap with a bazillion mana. Down the line. With 3 Clovers in play, it's often not that hard to find the line. Should have held up an Aether Gust. Well, as our opponent contemplates their lot in life, thank you to the nearly 400 people who are watching us march to top 10 with Temur Clover. I appreciate your choice to watch the original King of Temur Adventures. I hope that you feel like you're getting your money's worth. Or even more than that. Alright, opponents decided to go for the value block. Can't be losing Gadwick now. Or maybe it's just a statement about, finally they got to kill an Edgewell Innkeeper, the thing they needed to do the whole game and could not do. Broke along, Chris Hamilton, thank you for following. So the strictly optimal thing to do here is to get only conventional cards from the sideboard, don't let the opponent know you're playing expansion. Yeah, just... But we didn't have to do it, thanks for not putting us through the rest of it. Victor? Okay, blue-green ramp. I believe the usual idea applies. They have Jarail, so we're going to keep all the Bone Crushers in. Jarail actually seems kind of important to their deck. I believe we can cut one copy of Fae of Wishes and one copy of... Honestly, Borrower seems pretty good too. I'm just going to cut a Boon, and I'm going to bring in the 2 counter spells that hit Nissa nice and early. Dunzo. Yeah, Patrick, you can. The other copies of Fling are all triggers that you can respond to. Hey, congrats, Dragol! Azorius Luris Tempo sounds super sweet. If you have a list, feel free to drop it in the chat if you want other people to see it. I very, very briefly tried Claim Rizaleo. It didn't seem that great. I just feel like usually the nature of Uro and the nature of this deck not being as aggressive as something like Rakdos is such that even if you can claim an Uro, like, you probably can't kill your opponent because they probably just gained like 6 life the last turn, and then they just get their Uro back unless you're able to also get Fling. And if you have 7 mana and 2 wishes, you just have so many other options. Okay, so this hand's great. We got answers to early Jarail. We now have Beanstalk Giant, which is everything we want in life. Forest, I think I'm not going to grab that. We don't need a land for a couple turns here. And if the opponent's just ramping out to a quick Nissa, we've got double Beanstalk into Hold Up Negate, which is going to probably not be a thing that Victor is expecting. Okay, hit the land anyway. Glad we put the first one back. See if we get wilted. If we do get wilted, then that's our opponent's 3rd turn, which is fine. There's Jarail. Alright, so now we gotta make the decision of am I going to... Well, I'll just do this, actually. We'll just go pay 2 life. Beanstalk, so I think we're just stomping out Jarail here, and then next turn we can Innkeeper plus Bone Crusher plus Hold Up Negate. Seems good. No special reason to wait on this. We could wait until the opponent does something to draw a card, but they also do have Neutralize in their deck, so I'd rather just get it done now. Miles, basically I wanted 2 counter spells in, I wanted 1 to wish for. Having like 1 to wish for in the late game is a lot more than 0. And of all the counter spells I want to wish for late game, I feel like Disdainful Stroke is the one that hits all their big expensive cards later. But it's possible I should have Negate in the sideboard, because I mostly just want to counter Nissa, and Negate lets me force my spells through their counter spells. It could be right to bring in Disdainful Stroke instead. So that actually is a big punish, is if they were just going to cast Llanowar Visionary, then what I did want to do there was just hold up the Stomp and of course stomp their Visionary in their Jarail before they drew the card. But if I had just sat there holding up 2 mana, would they have played Visionary this turn? It's hard to tell. And I don't really mind not giving my opponent that much choice. Okay, double R was awesome. That just gives me even more stuff I can potentially do next turn, although I would love to just counter Anissa. Hydroid Krasis. Alright, that one slips past Negate, which is a little annoying, but it also gives us a huge tempo boost because we're just going to bounce both of these things and start attacking. Love that bouncing Llanowar Visionary also sets our opponent back a land. Now obviously they can draw lots of cards later, but I'm drawing lots of cards now, and I'm also about to cast a 7/7. which puts rather a damper. Also, they have to now discard a hand size, which is awesome. Once we have Beanstalk Giant in play, Nissa no longer really matters. Fae of Wishes. So we could do some wishing. I'm honestly pretty down just to play a 7/7. Even if the opponent Ether Gust this, we just get 2 more lands off it. And it's just an enormous threat right now. I also like being able to hold Fae of Wishes until after my opponent takes this turn, because, you know, if they get Nissa, we might want to wish for different things, and if they don't get Nissa... Drail's awful cute, but does kind of falter to Shadow Spear. I guess we'll see if they hold up a Gust. Does seem like they're holding up a Gust, so I'm not going to go for Shadow Spear too aggressively. Just going to start by attacking. So the problem is I can't go for Shadow Spear and equip it and still be able to negate a Gust. It's like a little too much mana. Technically I should play a land first, but I really, really don't expect Beanstalk Giant to get through there. See, I'm just going to let that go to the top of the deck, that's fine. That is an aggressive cap block. I like it. No, didn't think so. Didn't think so. So now I just get to do the following sequence of token, put 7 power onto the battlefield, draw a Beanstalk Giant, double Beanstalk Giant, hold up negate still. Everything is awesome. Yeah, I basically was almost certain they were holding up Ether Gust there. So, given that I didn't have enough mana to... I could have flung them, but I couldn't have expansioned them, so I figured this is just a good patient setup turn. Yep, can even Borrower now. Borrower having Flash is just amazing. Solus 1, thanks for the follow. Opponent's still 1 mana off of Ugin. Ooh, over 400 viewers. Excellent, excellent. This is what it's like to be rank 1. I forgot about that, chat. I've been playing so many like weird Dirtle decks that sometimes I forget what it's like to just be rank 1. Alright. Nissa is a good negate target, I would say.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you.
I love to see it.
And oops, nice 3 mana counterspell, opponent.
Did they accidentally? Oh, they didn't have enough mana.
I like how you're just like the Greek chorus over here.
I'm the Greek chorus! I'm eating. I can't see.
Alright, so now they're just dead to Fling Expansion. Nice and easy. We just attack with everything. They take at least 2 damage, then we Fling Expansion them. We can also just do Fling Double Stomp. Doesn't really matter.
Hang out and watch.
Chunk. So, blue-green, no interaction with Clover, that they drew at least. Just getting dismantled. Dromersha, thanks for the follow. Worth noting that even though we can Fling Expansion opponent, kill our opponent here, we didn't technically need to do it. I am trying to like watch out to make sure I'm not like overly fond of the explosion. We don't actually need it here. But it was the only reason we didn't need it, because we drew the Bone Crusher, to be fair. Alright, I always like to be super careful with this, just to make sure I don't accidentally click through it, because it's uncommon that I copy spells on the stack, and my fingers have all these reflexes attached to them, so you don't need to do full control for this, but I like it. Alright, do we get another rank? 2 ranks, how generous. How generous. We got 1 rank for last win. Top 10. Now I can change the stream title again.
What's the record for today?
Undefeated. Many and 0. Alright, Gifted MH, thanks for the follow. I'm just gonna take a break because my brain is kind of on fire. Nicosaurus, thanks for the follow. I'll pull up the deck list so people can kind of see everything that's in it for a second.
You can do an Aaron Gertler AMA.
Weed Magic, thank you for keeping me updated. Excadian, MFFan1, thank you for following. And thanks for the kind words, Gifted. Yeah, I should probably play in some of these SCG tournaments. I think we could maybe do well in those. Aeon Pickles, Duajlo, Michelle, thank you all for following. Yeah, I did. I mean, it was a couple of days ago that I managed to lose 3 matches in a row with Clover because I went on horrible tilt and
He
punching
was
a lot.
so tilted. That was the first thing he said to me when I came.
Literally cursing alone in my room to no one in front of Arena. But I basically, put myself back together, and it's been a good couple of streams. Tyrannodor, thanks for the follow. All right. Took my breath. Boone looks like a recent change. How good has it been? It's been okay, Halibarial. Probably slightly better than Of One Mind, if I had to say it right now, but I'm unsure of what card you're supposed to play in that slot. May still be that Of One Mind is better, it may be that Adventurous Impulse is better, maybe it's Wilt or Ether Gust. The one thing I'm almost certain it's not is Nissa. I think Nissa does not fit this deck's plan very well, and she's kind of poorly aligned against the meta. Wow! Oh, Nino Pop-Tart, thank you for the subscription! Awesome to have a new subscriber tonight, thank you. And, of course, half the sub money. For those of you who are new to the stream, I have a full-time job outside of Magic, so I'm fortunate enough that I can afford to donate half of my sub revenue to charity, which is what I do, focusing on charities that do a lot of good for people living in the developing world who have very few resources and usually not a lot of great healthcare accessible to them. So I pick from a variety of charities, but they offer everything from cash grants to medical treatments, vaccines, etc., to people who can really use them. I'm going to mulligan this hand. Arena was not very generous to me. Okay, fine. Hey, Beneclyde, thanks for the subscription. All right. Forest, I was expecting Pelt Collector. It was Arboreal Grazer. Okay, we could be in for an adventure here. I'm gonna Temple here. I think they're, a token doesn't do much with Grazer, and they're, love Beanstalk Giant. Absolutely love casting this Escape on turn 4, potentially. Paradise Druid, alright. So we've got Borrower up for Nissa. If the opponent does just jam a turn 3 Nissa, we're still in a lot of trouble, don't get me wrong. But we at least have some kind of answer to that. Okay, it was not Nissa. It was nothing in particular. Paradise Druid attacks, I will bounce it. Okay. Yep, Simic Ramp. Well, we'll see what their whole plan is here. They didn't have a Nissa yet. Could just be a Krasis for 4 this turn, which would be tough, but beatable. Pedro, thanks for the follow. Total Human TV, thank you for the follow.
You just wanted that blue, or why didn't you make the...
Kind of wanted the blue. Make the green token might have been better. Yeah, let's see. So I don't think I'm going to escape yet. I think the play here is going to be I'm going to wait to escape until I have a little bit more mana out. And we'll just go Steam Vents on tap. We'll make a couple tokens, and then I'll hold up Double Bounce, which means if the opponent taps out Paradise Druid to play something big next turn, I can bounce both of those. And if the opponent keeps just not doing things, I just get to escape next turn. Borrowers are also excellent against Ugin, which I would not be surprised if my opponent had one of those in hand. Oh, it's Mutate. Okay.
Oh, I am in for this.
Cute.
I mean, sorry, but...
Very cute. Mutate. Well, Double Borrower is what you want against Mutate, so I don't mind this. The Wu-Tang RZA, thanks for the follow. Alright, so... this deck is definitely capable of just killing you in a big ol' storm of stuff. I'm just going to make the bounce here. If I can set them back a little bit, that's great. That's awesome. Don't think they're going to have counterspell for this. Thank goodness there isn't like a flash mutate counterspell creature. That would be heinous.
Like a mutate, Frilled Mystic?
A mutate Frilled Mystic, yes. That's what I don't want. Putting Pouncing Shore Shark on Grazer is super weird. That just gets it bounced again, which I don't understand.
They just wanted to take your token?
Yeah, I also could have bounced into turn, which would have stopped them from me casting Paradise Druid. Yeah, well, this matchup can be iffy. It tends to be really good if your opponent's draw is heavy on, like, Pouncing Shore Sharks and light on Gem Razors. The thing I'm slightly worried about is if I play Clover, my opponent could just Gem Razor both of the Clovers, which would be terrible. Like, not a thing I want to see at all. So I think this turn I'm just going to go for 2 Breeding Pools. And then next turn I can do, like, Clover Beanstalk stuff. But I, like, don't want to get completely hammered into the ground by a Gem Razor here. Danger Dan, thanks for the follow. Grand Jert, thanks for the follow. Alright, there's Ugin. So opponents playing Ugin in their mutate deck, which is
Is that good? That seems bad.
It's a choice. It certainly is a choice. That's another Brazen Borrower. Okay, so we're gonna go for the Brazen Borrower here. I mean, we do eventually need to like draw something to like keep us going, like an escape, but we're in pretty reasonable shape, I think. More and more borrowers are happy things to have. And being able to start chipping away with borrowers is nice too.
Land.
Ugin seems a bit questionable. I feel like you're supposed to just win with your mutate creatures, and Ugin does not seem to have much synergy with the rest of what's going on. But I don't play mutate.
I do play mutate.
Tammy plays mutate sometimes. She doesn't like Ugin.
I don't like Ugin. I think
Getting Ugin for free off of Starks is hilarious. Although using the minus does kind of wipe out everything you've ever done. Ooh, opponent not having the land is having the Grazer. Alright, so we're seeing everything get set up again. But now I get to start casting Beanstalk Giants, which they can Shore Shark, to be fair. But then I just get more lands, so it's tough. It's a tough sitch. Cabezas, thanks for the follow. Like, I feel like if you're doing like 8 drops in this deck, you kind of just want it to be End-Race Forerunners instead.
Oh my god, are you gonna bounce bar?
Ugin's not going to save you from the games that you're losing with Mutate much of the time, and Forerunner is going to win you a lot of games very fast. Like, Forerunner would have done a lot of damage there if he had into the Borrower, where Ugin, even if we didn't have the Borrower, was like, whatever. Okay, so play here is going to be I've got access to 11 mana. All Temple. Clover again. I actually don't want this anymore. I just want to draw cards. I want Fae of Wishes, basically. Fae of Wishes, Escape the Wilds, and Dwelling Keeper. Continuing to like play around with this pile of cards is cute, but against Ugin and pouncing Shore Shark, whatever else my opponent has, it's not likely to like get me much headway, per se. So I think I'm down to just Beanstalk. It probably gets pounced, whatever. I've got a Borrower to fend off a potential End-Race Forerunners attack. Sure. Get it. Sure thing, opponent.
Aaron, only because I have a margarita.
I wouldn't have said it if you didn't have a margarita, Tammy. Ugin's back. Alright.
Kill the borrower.
Ooh, dead Borrower. Chunk. Nice job, nice job. Yeah, to be fair, opponent would be in a better spot if we didn't have 3 Borrowers. Oh, wow. Opponent's a little spooked. Or ghosting, but probably just spooked. Because at this point, the opponent should know very well that I always have it. Speaking of always having it. So if I bounce the Grazer, I can kill the Ugin, but I waste my whole Borrower. So I don't really want to do that. I think I just want to attack Ugin with Borrower. PityMatt31, thanks for the follow. We are also about to be out of basic lands. Huh. Opponent... Okay, opponent's 1 mana up with this. So I guess that was the pause. Does the opponent give up Grazer to save 3 loyalty? That does seem like the right decision. I approve. My goodness. Oh my goodness, chat. It was Ranger's Guile the whole time.
People think that's playable?
I mean, it is playable in mono green. And probably in this deck too, honestly. I mean, you can play it on your creature that has 4 mutates on it. I just think this was maybe not the spot. Okay, yeah, they're done. Okay, so Mutate's actually kind of scary. They play a bunch of Gem Razors, and they can trigger their Gem Razors over and over again, so you can't really count on having Clovers out much. Sideboard-wise, this is one of those matchups where Bone Crusher's a little lackluster. It just, really doesn't kill things very well. It's much worse than Brazen Borrower, for example. It's a matchup where Ether Gust is quite good. It's a matchup where Disdainful Stroke is quite good. I'm going to cut 1 Bone Crusher, and as far as Fae of Wishes goes, Fae of Wishes can get Unsummon, which is nice. Can Escape, which is nice. I think it's a Fae out matchup, though. Any matchup where Fae is not a good blocker or a good body, or where it's not like hard control, is a good matchup to consider taking out Fae. And I think this one qualifies. I like Lovestruck Beast because it's like a pretty good defensive creature. J. Bossy Galupo, thanks for the follow. So Shadow Spear pretty much never comes in FM Dirk. It's really more of a like specialty card for late in the game if you don't want to get burned out or if you need to trample through a big board. Okay, Grazer's down. So this is an early Clover hand. One where we're going to really hope our opponent doesn't have a Gem Razor. But Edgewell Innkeeper is really nice. I also have the option to just go Innkeeper into Fae into Lovestruck Beast and avoid doing Clover stuff altogether. Which is pretty tempting. It's pretty tempting. Ah, yes, FM Dirk. Yeah, I'm not too worried. I guess that is something to remember for sure. Should I... Unsummon's definitely bottles a card I want to be wishing for. I like more access to that card. And it's a card I have time to wish for too, since it's reactive rather than like, trying to wish ahead of the and playing a big spell is tough when you're on the draw. Innkeeper or Clover? Innkeeper or Clover? Innkeeper or Clover? Which direction are we going here? We can go the Innkeeper direction here.
I agree. Likely Clover's gonna say bye-bye.
Why are you talking like that to my viewers?
Because you talk like that to your viewers. Sure
Do
thing.
I? Sure thing. That's a dad joke. What you were doing, it wasn't a dad joke. It was different. Wow, Goose, Grazer, and Paradise Root opponent is really all in on doing mutate things. So, do I Clover now? I'm actually kind of down to Clover now. Just like their hand has fewer things in it. Drawing a card off my 1/4 doesn't seem that appealing. We'll see if we get Gem Razored. The opponent just like plays a Star X, then we might die really fast. Alright, it was Gem Razor. Little sad. Ooh, it's a flying Gem Razor. That's cute. So goodbye, Clover. You'll be missed, but kind of fine still. Kind of fine. Alright, that's a lot of lands. I'm still just going to Lovestruck here. I can take a couple hits from the Gem Razor and try to Fae for something interactive. This matchup's definitely easier when you draw a pile of Brazen Borrowers and don't just draw lands and then more lands. So we're definitely at a disadvantage here. Wouldn't be surprised just die to a Starks this turn. Well, Shore Sharks. Okay. Doesn't really change things much here. Doesn't mean we gotta be careful about relying on certain blockers in the future. Alright, Borrower is nice. Do I just borrow this whole stack? Do I borrow the whole stack now or do I wait? I think I probably wait one more turn. If they Star X, it's really bad. If I borrow, I'm not really doing anything important this turn. I guess I can just go like Temple, borrow, make a token. PB, thanks for the sub. Thank you very much. First time subscriber. Awesome. Oh man, what are the odds at Star X? They would have just Star X this turn, right? They would have just Star X this turn if they had Star X. Alright, I'm a Temple into Lovestruck here. Definitely not. Score 1 for Temple. We'll see. There are ways this gets punished very badly. Let's see, do you have the Star X? The other Gem Razor, yep, that's gonna bounce Lovestruck Beast again, but it's not really furthering anything. This is fine. Yeah, I guess Destroy by Storm's Wrath as long as they don't have a Star X out yet. And unfortunately, we're not in a position to be wishing for Storm's Wrath yet. I think this is just going to be the play Lovestruck and borrow something turn. I guess we gotta watch out for Ranger's Guile being their last card. So we might borrow on, like, upkeep. Let's just Love Strike again. Clover. The saddest Clover. The Clover that will not live to see the light of day.
Bloody.
It's bloody. Alright, so opponent, I guess if I bounce this, the opponent can just jam a Shore Shark, so I think I actually wait till they attack and hope they don't have Ranger's Guile. If they do have Ranger's Guile, I can wish for, like, Red Cap melee and take out this whole stack. So I'm just wait. What is up? Okay, that's a land. This is an attack, and this is a bounce the whole stack right back. Ranger's Guile puts me to 1. Mystical Dispute. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Good one to watch out for if we get to game 3 here. So, this thing being a flyer is awkward, but what's really good is being able to just wish for Red Cap melee and make all the problems go away. As long as I don't have, like, I guess, Dreamtail Heron or something. Oh, wait, I can just get Primal Might. That's much better. Let's do the one that doesn't make me lose a land. How about?
I was gonna say, isn't that the reason you play Primal Might?
That is the reason I play Primal Might. Okay. So, notably, Domer's Ambush would have been basically the same here.
Did you have another anger?
Yes.
Oh.
So, pay 0, firm 0, you fight you. 2 life is not stable. We do have to watch out for that. Like, for example, Ugin kills us, but our opponent is still 2 mana off of Ugin, so we got time. We're gonna need at least 3 draws to find an Ugin. Plus the mana to play it. But getting a Shadow Spear soon would be nice. Bouncing Shore Shark would force an Innkeeper chump and would be very awkward. Migratory Greathorn is fine. Still not going to lose to Ugin here. Still not going to lose to Pouncing Shore Shark. Love to set up a Shadow Spear with another Fae here, maybe. Or at least get a Borrower. Stomp doesn't really do it. Okay, so I'm gonna go with... Is there any
Someone called me your pet.
Rude. Incredibly rude.
Rude. So
Incredibly rude. I think it's because I don't have a pet in Arena and my opponent does. It's like, if a tiny Tammy could stand there, you would like that, right?
Oh, I would love it so much.
Tammy would...
If there was a small Tammy just standing there on the side.
Alright, I'm going to try and prepare against a potential Dreamtail Heron. You never know. I'm just going to play Fae out here. Oh yeah, it's also because, like, literally this is the pet spot. I'm covering the pet I don't have. You are kind of... it is kind of a tiny Tammy there. Alright, drew that. We're going to play the Scryland here. Would love another Fae of Wishes. Another Fae of Wishes is my best draw here. I'm going to be scrying pretty aggressively to try to find one. Worth noting that if I want to next turn, I can bring back Fae and wish for Disdainful Stroke, or actually Negate would have to be. I put Disdainful Stroke in my main deck, which now seems like a problem. Yeah, no, I'm not going to attack because if I attack, Pouncing Shore Shark kills me because they can just attack Paradise Druid, so we're not doing that. Okay, land drop, so Ugin is now a live draw. We are probably going to have to pretend that we're not going to get Ugin here for a second. Yeah, I think it's just too important for the rest of the game to go and do all the Beanstalk stuff. Yeah, alright, I am willing to lose to Ugin off the top. I'm not going to, like, throw away the whole turn getting a negate that doesn't hit any of the other cards just to not lose to Ugin off the top. Just a Drake, thanks for the follow. Okay, so I want to be able to hold up the ability to bring Fae back to my hand, so I'm not going to cast Bone Crusher this turn, I am just going to make 2 tokens. And then, if it's anything but Ugin this coming turn, I should be able to go get Shadow Spear and put myself in a nice safe zone, and also wish for like an escape or something to finish things off. I guess I could attack with Edgewell Innkeeper and see if they bite. Yeah, I'm going to attack with Edgewell Innkeeper. I think they're not going to bite, so I think it's just a free point of damage. Got 2 ground blockers and a Fae here. I guess they get it Endrace Forerunners, which is a 7/7 with Trample and Haste, in which case I have 6 points of toughness back to block it. So I won't die. They could have Gem Razor, that's only a 4 power Trampler, so that's fine. Vienna Eye series, my guess is that Grazer is just a worse creature and they kind of played by instinct. I think putting on Druid would have been a little better too. Medium amount better. Okay, so... Alright, Ugin or bust. Would not be surprised if my opponent was playing 4 of them. Let's see. Questing Beast. I've never seen that card to mutate deck the Red Helix, but if my opponent has a Questing Beast, then we do get gotten. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Note, Tollbridge, we were exactly live to Endraze. I counted it. Alright, well now we gotta win game 3.
I mean, there's nothing you could have done about that.
Well, I could have wished for negate.
Oh, that's right.
That was the thing I said I wasn't gonna do.
Got it.
Alright. Come to think of it, having seen how that played out, maybe I wanted to... No, I think I just want Disdainful Stroke in my main deck. Still. Yep, so they hit exactly... I was like, they need to hit land Ugin here. And they did hit exactly land Ugin. Well, that's how you get me on the draw. Let's see if you can do it on the play, Marin. Let's see if you can do it on the play. Keep... Love this temple's going to help me find a 3rd land, preferably a blue source. We've got Innkeeper, a little bit of aggro, a Disdainful Stroke. It's good stuff here.
What do you want to do to check Discord?
I should check Discord at some point, sure.
Give him this good time.
Nope. Patrick, in that spot, I think I would still bottom a Clover. I think mana is just way too important. Alright, so this matchup is not easy, right? Well, now that I've seen this, we've got the Gem Razor dilemma again, chat. It's the Gem Razor dilemma again, but I think at this point, Clover is just way too good. If one has the Gem Razor on turn 2 and starts beating me down, then we're in a heap of trouble. Again, Blue-Green mutates like a tough matchup. I do like that I can at least kill a Goose with Stomps if I don't hit the land. Not drawing a 3rd land, of course, would also be bad, but I think we did the right thing and played Temples to give ourselves the best chance to hit. Alright, well... Deal. Don't know, Bottles. It's an interesting question, one that I can't easily answer now. Okay, what you got, buddy? Starix? Shore Shark. Alright, opponent's just getting aggro, which is fine. That I can kill. Please land. Please land, but also we can handle not having one for a bit. There we go. There we go. Thank goodness. Game's not over by a long stretch, but I liked having that. And now the question is, do I just gun down the Shore Shark? Or do I hold up mana to possibly stop a Gem Razor, but also possibly get ganked by a Ranger's Guile? I think my plan here is to hold Stroke, just cast Innkeeper. I think the only cards that really scare me I can Stroke. Like if they play like a, I don't know, tiny little mutate creature and bounce Innkeeper, I don't care.
That's interesting.
I'm open to taking another 4 offshore shark as long as I'm not dropping to Ugin range. Nissa! Nope.
You're smart.
Nope.
Play Clover.
Thank you, Tammy. Or should I say, fam? Alright, so now we've got Fae, we've got some stomps, lots of options here. Pretty fond of... Let's see, we can triple Fae, I can grab Unsummon, I could grab Red Cat Melee, but I have to lose a land. Negate's not going to help much, I've already got Gust in the main deck, I definitely want Escape. Is there anything else I know I want for sure? Hey, don't sleep on M20, I will say. Don't sleep on M20. Field of the Dead and Veil of Summer in one set is nothing to sneeze at. But yeah, probably still weaker. Oh, I can pick up Reckless Airstrike. Oh, Reckless Airstrike is perfect.
Oh my goodness.
Reckless Airstrike! And I will take a nice Once in Future so I can get back to Stainful Stroke later. And I will take an Escape to the Wilds. Let's just do that. Yeah, new card. Coming out strong. I love it. Get out of here.
I liked that card when I played it in my deck way back when.
Yeah, my logic behind it is just that, like, when was the last time I killed an enchant with Return to Nature? So I'm not even playing Return to Nature anymore. I'm just playing a one-mana artifact removal spell that also kills flying sharks.
I love it. Okay,
Starks time. Opponent could hit an Ugin off this, and we'd be in a pickle. They hit a Grazer. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Hello, Grazer.
Definitely chopping. As long as this thing's in play, we can't be fully comfortable. So I think we're just going to triple stomp it. Which is just a thing we can do because this is the best deck in the world, chat. It's the best deck in the world. But still 2 mana off of Ugin. And that's an Aether Gust too. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So, man, I can just Aether Gust this, huh?
But if you Aether Gust it, then you just replay and...
Well, they can replay it, but they have to draw it again. And I believe they have to choose to put a Grazer on top of their deck if they want it to. And if they play it again, I can then just stomp it. And I'm basically killing a draw of theirs. What do I want to do here? What do I want to do here? The problem with Gust is they can just choose not to play into it. Yeah, I think... So if I Gust, the question is they have to put I think they have to put both on top or both on the bottom. I think the cards are basically treated as all the same card going to the same zone. So I'm going to target this. It basically just costs them a draw, and Aether Gust is otherwise going to be kind of a dead card, so I'm going to do this. If they choose to put it back on top, they play it, they get a Grazer again, and then I triple stomp it. Or, okay, they put Grazer on top first, it looks like. So then I can just play Clover safely.
It looks like it went bottom, huh?
Oh, they bottomed. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold up the stomps in case of shenanigans. Yeah, Eldraine's a super, super strong set. Another Starks, okay, so we don't lose to Ugin anymore, because I do have the triple stomp. What are you going to hit here? Ha ha ha! I am sorry, opponent, that is a rough run. But I am okay with some iffy luck here to make up for the top deck Ugin last game. Because that was some bullshit.
Do you not see it then?
No.
They said that they chopped, but they were saying...
Oh, it doesn't reveal... Oh, it's a glitch. It's a glitch, they were saying.
Oh.
So, okay, well, they knew they were going to Starks into Grazer. And you know what? I think rank 5 is kind of like a perfect place to stop. That was a tight, stressful match. We're coming up on 3 hours, and I think I'd rather just, like... It's like enough Magic for tonight, but I am going to, like, hold up the deck list, and if y'all have questions about playing Temur Clover, especially the new folks who haven't heard me yammer on about this deck for dozens of hours, please ask them, what do you want to know about Temur Clover? I'll pull up my list here, and I think I probably am actually going to cut expansion for a Fabled Passage. Life Force, hey, thanks for being a first-time subscriber. Oh, this is the best stream I've had in a long time, as far as just like pure engagement from folks. I love it. I'm really appreciative. Thank you. How do I sideboard against Sultai? Alright, so let's talk about the logic of Sultai sideboarding. Basic idea for that deck is to... you want to stop Nissa. Nissa's like the core of everything they do. Yes, Uro is annoying, but you have Brazen Barbers that can stop Uro. Uro can, like, maybe draw them a couple of cards along the way. It's tough, but manageable. Nissa will just kill you. Nissa will draw them 5 cards. Nissa will play 3 deadly spells in 1 turn. You've got to stop Nissa. So my sideboarding plan is basically, how do we stop Nissa as consistently as possible? So I bring in 2 counter spells. I bring in Ether Gust and Negate, holding Disdainful Stroke back, because Disdainful Stroke is a... If I want to have 1 counter spell to wish for, Disdainful Stroke counters everything that matters in the late game. It could be that you're supposed to bring in Stroke and leave Negate, because Negate can fight their counters in the late game if you're having like a war over a spell. But basically bring in 2 of these 3 counters. One of them is Ether Gust. And you cut a single Fey of Wishes. Fey of Wishes is not a good blocker or attacker in the matchup. And also, there's not like any one like shut the door kind of card you get against them. Fey of Wishes is just a value card. And you just really don't want to have too many kind of value cards cut out of your hand. The thing that Fey of Wishes is really bad at is pressuring Nissa. So you want to keep cards in your deck that pressure Nissa very well. So you board out 1 Fey of Wishes, and then 1 of, I think just Boon of the Wishgiver comes out. Again, it's kind of like the worst Escape the Wilds in your deck. Of Mind is pretty good because they are not great at killing human tokens, and so Of Mind is usually going to be a cheap draw to at some point in the game. But you keep in all the adventure creatures. I used to sideboard out Brazen Barber or Bone Crusher Giant, 1 copy of occasionally. I no longer do that. Halibarial. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh wow, another subscriber. Oh my goodness, it's hard to keep track here as I'm chitter-chattering, but thank you very much. It's just been a wonderful night. Anyway, so you keep all the adventure creatures, because the adventure creatures are how you kill Nissa. You just have to kill Nissa. If your opponent has the chance of playing Nissa next turn, just always assume they have a Nissa unless you absolutely can't afford to. So if you're like, oh, it's my turn 3, should I play this Lovestruck Beast out, or should I Beanstalk Giant, because if I get a land, I can play Escape the Wilds next turn? No, play Lovestruck Beast, because Lovestruck Beast stops Nissa from killing you. Yeah, so always basically assume Nissa's coming down, try to prepare to deal with you can. If you can't deal with Nissa, if your hand just doesn't line up like that, then just go for as many cards and as many lands as you can, the usual thing. But always be thinking about Nissa. Tollbridge, yeah, Henge is just really awkward against Casualties of War. It's awkward against the artifact removal that people are now sideboarding a lot of. If you were like sneakily playing Clover back when people had no artifact removal, it's great. Now that everybody brings in Wilt and Shieldbreaker and stuff, I think Henge is worse than it was before. It's like a plausible option. It might be fine. But I don't love it. Chris Van Meter, Mad Cow, Ball Drifter, thank you all for following. Also, Dube Suja Wolf and Cost 65. Yeah, so that's this philosophy against Sultai. How would I adjust this deck for best of 1, Mad Cow? Well, my wife plays best of 1 a lot.
I do.
How would you adjust the deck for best of 1, Tammy?
I don't play Boon of the Wishgiver.
Well, fine. So forget about the...
Yeah, the sideboarding. I still play Blazing Volley, which I find extremely helpful, even in like Clover Mirrors. What else do I have? It's been a while since I played best of 1, actually. I switched over to best of 3 for Platinum.
We've got a hype train in the meantime. Vienna Series, thank you for being a resubscriber. 2 months. Thanks for coming back. Daniel Sala, thanks for the follow. Yeah, so Negate's also a thing you play in the main deck. Ether Gust, a thing you play in the main deck. For best of 1, what I would do is, I think you absolutely want to copy a Blazing Volley. I assume that Mono Red is still basically the most common thing at best of 1. Blazing Volley is an awesome card against Mono Red. It's also really good against the Mirror. I've only just recently realized how much I want Blazing Volley in this deck against Temur Clover.
Yeah.
If I start seeing more Temur Clover on the ladder, I'll probably put a copy in my best of 3 sideboard. The reason is that Blazing Volley is just the easiest, cleanest way to kill like 1 Innkeeper, 2 Innkeeper, 1 Innkeeper, and 3 human tokens. A lot of the Temur Clover mirror actually revolves around who's like fighting on the board, like who's winning the fight on the board. And if you can like kill your Innkeeper and stop your Lovestruck Beast from attacking all in 1 card, it's awesome. Clumsy Custard, thank you for subscribing. Royce, thank you for the 4-month resubscription. Dollar Robert, thanks for following. More Clover questions. Hit them. Hit me. Yeah, Red Cap's amazing. You never cut Red Cap. Just having 4 damage in 1 mana for 1 mana is incredible. Another thing you could consider for best of 1 if you're really seeing like infinite mono red and nothing else is that Mystic Repeal is a very good answer to Anax. Personally, I think that between Red Cap Melee and Unsummon, you've probably got that use case covered, but it's a consideration. DM Viper, I just talked about beating Sultai's Clover for a long time, and Kenzenbai, same thing. Sultai's Nut Draw beats ours. Kenzenbai, I would say probably not necessarily. Like, I guess both decks have different kinds of nut draws, and if you're on the play, your nut draw crushes Sultai. If they're on the play, their nut draw certainly beats your regular draws. If it's nut against nut, who knows? It's like your nut draw is like Clover into Beanstalk escape or something, which is incredible. Began HS, I don't think so. I think if you ever have like, I don't know, 6 to 8 mana after Wishing, you can do something better than playing Mass Manipulation. Like maybe if the meta were 100% Sultai and Mass Manipulation has some like good uses there, perhaps, but I feel like it's just so rare that I have like spare wishes and like a ton of mana, and I can't find some way to win with the deck. Viennoy Series, thank you for gifting a whole pile of subscriptions. Thank you very much. Oh, Bloody wants to co-op. Alright, we'll co-op another night, Bloody. Sammy decided to show me Discord because I got distracted and never looked at it. Yeah, Morgali, I mean, like, what is a nut draw, right? If their nut draw is like, I guess their nut draw is like Thought Erasure into Uro, into Nissa, into Casualties, and that'll beat most Clover draws, but, you know, you can also beat that kind of draw if your draw is like turn 1 Innkeeper and you have 2 Lovestruck Beasts in hand, for example. Ansky, have not seen it. I should take a look. I should take a look and see how it looks. Disdainful Stroke main, I think I'd rather have Negate. I think it's just better at engaging early. There really aren't that many 4 mana and above creatures that you desperately need to stroke. If Mono Green were more prevalent, then maybe you would play Stroke because it hits like Questing Beast as well, but if that were the case, you'd just play Ether Gust. So I think Ether Gust and Negate both seem better than Stroke to me. But these are all fast answers to questions that I've sometimes not thought about too much. Yeah, the other thing about it is like a greedy sideboard, just yeah, Mad Cow, just type ! deck. Here, I'll do it. Just like this, and then you'll be taken to a page that shows all the decks I've been playing. Florant is in 6th with Adventures in the SCG event, in which case I have seen Florant's list. I think Nissa is bad. But otherwise I'm sure Florant's list is pretty clean. I don't understand Discontinuity either. I've seen a bunch of people playing Discontinuity and I just don't get it. Somebody needs to explain that one to me. Why fail patch and sideboards? That's one of those ones that I've gone back and forth on. Autumn Burchett, who is I think one of the 3 best Temur Clover players, 4 best Temur Clover players in the world. Everybody's playing Temur Clover now, so it's hard to say. But if we say that like there are 4 people who have had like notable professional success with a recent version of Temur Clover, or like notable ladder success, I would say it's me, Jason Florant, Luis Salvato, and Autumn Burchett are the 4 who come to mind. Autumn Burchett swears by Fabled Passage, really likes it. Basically, there are occasionally going to be draws where you have like a bunch of clovers, but not very many lands, and you just want to play it and make sure you hit an untapped, pain-free land drop that turn that gets you whatever color you want. Fabled Passage is great for that. Like a common use case for Autumn that they mentioned was wishing for like a land and a Storm's Wrath, and the land lets you play the Storm's Wrath, that kind of thing. It's just like making a land drop is actually just a really powerful effect in a game of Magic, and being able to have one of your wish cards basically say, hit a land drop, is kind of great. Cerizium, thank you for the gift subs. We are on full hype train mode. Goodness, do I have to click something to activate this? No, Twitch is doing it for me. I don't understand Twitch. Mistman now has a sub. Alright, well, Mistman, thanks for watching.
Yeah, Mistman. Oh, Mistman's not necessarily watching. It's just to the community.
Ah, I see. How do I sideboard against Winota, Andre? Against Winota, I'm not sure I would sideboard. I think you could bring in Storm's Wrath for an Escape to the Wilds. Basically, aggro decks think about boarding out Escape to the Wilds and bringing in things to interact with them. I would want to keep like Grafdigger's Cage and Red Cat Melee on the sideboard as ways to interact with Winota, I think. But if you want to board in like Primal Might and Storm's Wrath for 2 Escape to the Wilds, that seems like an easy way to go about it. Patrick, it's close. I think I'm pretty close to taking out one of those 2 cards. Now that Teferi is not around to bounce Grafdigger's Cage anymore, I think you might not need Cage as much, and now that Cat's out of the meta. I will say there are matchups like against Rakdos Kroxa where I really, really want Cage. I just want to never have to worry about Kroxa, Woestrider, or any of that stuff ever again. but it's possible that Tormod's Crypt just covers enough use cases, or that Cage covers enough use cases and you don't need Crypt, although 0 mana is so cheap. How do I sideboard for mono green? It's the same idea, it's aggro. You would just board out some Escape to the Wilds and bring in, like, Storm's Wrath plus probably Primal Light. Alright, I'm looking now at the top 8 Temur Adventures list, which seems pretty clean. I don't think you need Ugin in the sideboard, but otherwise I basically agree with all of these choices. Oh, and Nissa. Don't love Nissa, but negating the main seems fine. Luthillian, thank you for the subscription. What is Temur Clover's worst matchup? A bunch of people have asked this. DM Viper miscast in the sideboard. Is that better than negate? That's possible. Well, no, it only hits instants and sorceries, right, DM Viper? I feel like the times that you're wishing for a counter spell to counter an instant or sorcery, that typically means that you are, like, late in the game and you're trying to win a counter war, at which point I'd rather just have negate for, like, the stop anything value than miscast. I think miscast feels too narrow. Yeah, Conan, I think Esper Yorion probably has a reasonable matchup against Temur Clover. I will say that, like, Temur Clover players on ladder, it's a really complicated deck to play, and there's just, like, a huge range of skill you're going to see. I've seen people claim that, like, every deck has a good matchup against Temur Clover, and I suspect it's just that, like, people are new to playing Temur Clover and are having a hard time figuring things out. But yeah, Esper Yorion has a bunch of discard, a bunch of pretty good interaction, and a really good late game value engine. That's, like, a good combination. Temur Clover's worst matchup right now is probably Rakdos or Sultai, but I really think that both of those matchups are very close to even, if not completely even. And I honestly just don't know if Temur Clover has anything that you would consider a bad matchup right now. I think the deck is just very powerful if you play it well. Yeah, DM Viper, I think it's true 1-mana tutor targets are strong. Miscast is definitely a plausible card. It's like one of, 25 cards that all seem like they could reasonably go in. If you end up testing it yourself, let me know how it is. I'd be curious. As for how Esper Yorion lines up against Sultai, I don't know. Esper Yorion could mean any number of things. Probably the Doom Foretold list would line up pretty well against Sultai, but at the cost of being worse against other things. I think Doom Foretold is not that good in Esper Yorion. Whew. What's up, Hot Dog? Thanks for the bits. Yeah, there's always 20 to 25 cards you can put in the sideboard. It's hard to tell. Iago, Spyglass in the sideboard. I don't love it. I guess it's just hard to think what thing is so impactful that you need to Spyglass it instead of just killing it with one of your many cards that kill things. Like, you wouldn't Spyglass Nissa because she still doubles mana and you still need to get her off the board for that reason. You could Spyglass, like, Priest, but if you want to do that, you could also just, like, get an Unsummon or a Red Cap Melee or a Storm's Wrath and try to clean up the Priest in that way. I mean, I think it's, again, one of those 25 cards I could imagine playing, but I can't immediately think of use cases where it would have been helpful. If somebody's 7-0 an event playing 24 lands, Weed Magic, it sounds like they got very lucky, or maybe their other cards were all Adventurous Impulse. 24 lands seems very low for Temur Clover. Very, very low. Oh, thanks, Irving Harvey. That's really nice of you to say. Yeah, I'm trying to look at this list with the 24 lands that happened. It's playing a Flax Intruder and a Stonecoil Serpent in the main deck, and a Gem Razor and an Uro. No, I would not recommend doing this. I would recommend playing lands instead of Stonecoil Serpent and Flaxen Intruder. But, I mean, I didn't go 7-0 in this event, so what do I know?
And only 2 escapes. It's a little bit more aggro.
It just looks like kind of a pile of stuff. I also don't know. Wait, when it says 7-0 event, does that just mean like a play mode event? Like a arena event? Like a tournament? Anyway, yeah, don't play 24 lands in your Clover deck, play 27. Main again, yeah, let me get that up on screen again for y'all.
It's also in Cardboard Live if people want
Also
to be
in
able to
Cardboard
copy.
Live. Let's push it out in the good viewing things way. Alright, any more questions before we close off the stream for the night? Am I gonna play other decks, Weed Magic? I'm gonna hit number 1 with this, if I can. After that, I will think about playing other decks. I love Yorion Sky Nomad. Yorion Sky Nomad, other than Edgewell Keeper and Lucky Clover, is my favorite individual card in Standard right now. I love building Yorion brews, but unlike Temur Clover, Yorion gives you lots of room to play a bunch of different cards and build some really bad decks. So I'm not going to start playing Yorion until I'm willing to test a bunch of cards and lose matches in the process. Harry Harvey, Uro is fine. Uro seems like a reasonable flex card like many other things. I don't love it because it's 3 mana and we have a ton of 3 mana plays, and because it's kind of hard to escape. I think if you were playing Uro as your flex slot, considering a couple of Fable Passage seems kind of worthwhile.
Why no Cycle Lands?
Why no Cycle Lands? So yeah, Cycles versus, this is a good thing to be like my last topic of the night. It's a big topic. Oh man, level 4 Hype Train.
What is this Hype Train? So amazing. Everyone.
Yeah, so Triomes, the good thing about Triomes is that Triomes, obviously, they produce more colors than Temples, which means you can afford to play more basic lands and still hit your colors consistently. That's great. That's really good. It means you take less damage in an average game. Matters a lot. The good thing about Temples is that they fix your draws early. If you have a Temple, you are more likely to play Lucky Clover on turn 2 than if you have a Triome. If you have a Temple, you are more likely to hit your 3rd or your 4th land on time than if you play a Triome. That is a huge, huge deal. But you also take more damage. So it's a question of which of these trade-offs do you think is better? Do you think it's better to have the ability to cycle in the late game to hit draws and also be able to take less damage off your lands? Or do you think it's better to have more consistent early draws and hit the bonkers starts earlier and hit the lands you need earlier? I personally tried Triomes, didn't like them, went back to Temples. I very frequently have situations where I'm extremely glad I have a Temple, and on a Triome, I rarely am in the opposite position. This is my experience. I do think Temples are better. I am reasonably confident of that. But I also see it's very tempting to play a land that makes all 3 of your colors. Triomes are great. I don't think it's a huge difference either way, but I do prefer Temples. Thanks for the bits, Tammy. Yeah, I think early game is much more important to Harry Harvey. That's kind of where I landed. All right, and that's going to be the last question for the night, but as is stream tradition, we're going to try and find someone to raid. Who is playing right now, whose stream I enjoy, and who I would be happy to raid? Let's find out.
Nessa and Sidetrack are both streaming.
Nessa and Sidetrack are both streaming. I do like dropping people on Sidetrack. Sidetrack plays rogue and stuff a lot.
Yes, Sidetrack, I believe, was playing some kind of Abzan deck based on the lands I saw.
That's spicy. Oh, I'm not. Oh, this is incognito. I'm not logged in. Hold on a minute. All right, we're almost picking the raid person. It's probably going to be Sidetrack, but let's see if anybody's around. JRR2 or any of the other usual raid people. It's looking like Sidetrack. All right, we're going to raid Sidetrack here. Unless Nessa is playing something that sounds really sweet from the hover over.
Some kind of blue-white deck.
Blue-white Auras in Historic, the number 1 deck in Historic. Let's raid Sidetrack. I just try to raid rogue people when I can. It's my thing. And Sanru, JD, thank you both for following. All right, have a good night, everyone. We're going to raid in 3, 2, 1. Adios.